What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast. Today, we will be missing Silver. He had to do some stuff and expresses his displeasure with not being able to be here. But he does have personal stuff that popped up. So we will try to keep you guys entertained. There's actually enough gaming news to keep everybody entertained. There were 2 big games reviewed.
Yep.
A couple smaller games. Subnautica 2 came out and did okay. Barely. Did all.
You bastard. How dare you?
Yeah. Subnautica 2 came out and depressed everybody. Really let down pretty much fans, journalists, everybody alike. Really cratered. No, it's actually been a pretty busy goddamn week. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Let's, first of all, actually, how should we do this? Let's cover Directive. Then let's jump into Subnautica. Then we'll go to Forza, maybe?
Yeah. Or even dive in, if you will. Get it? Because,
Yeah. You get it?
Yeah.
Because, it's underwater, because, there's diving. Anyway, yeah. So we'll do that. Let me
Good.
bring up the Directive reviews so we can talk about that, because I got to play Directive 8020, and I'm going to go straight up and just say it. I would have, had I done a review, scored this higher. I can't say that. It's 3.2 out of 5, which is, that's roughly I don't know what that is. It's a 70 to 75%, I guess. Depends on your...
Is that on OpenCritic?
That's on Steam. I'm just looking on Steam right now. On OpenCritic,
Steam.
It's probably OpenCritic Directive 8020. It's higher. It's 78. So, listen, it's a weird one, man. It's there's a lot to like about Directive 8020. First of all, it's the first of their games that I feel that they did a good job with the characters, where the characters actually have... I can't get too into it because there's some pretty big things that occur that you find out that you're like, okay, this is why this is this way. But there's some really good character motivations in this that drive far past their prior horror games, where it's like, here's a bad guy, or here's a thing they found in a subterranean cave or whatever. There's a distinct feeling of a larger emphasis when it comes to the narrative in this than I expected. There's little things people say and do. And again, because of the narrative, I can't spoil this. There's some surprises that you will not know. You cannot know until the end. And when they happened, one of the very few times I've beat a game and been like, oh, seriously? What the hell? And especially their games, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think their games are necessarily hinging on surprise. They're hinging on...
Or big plot twists.
Or big plot twists.
Maybe there's, one here and there.
This was... It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. There was some cool stuff. So that long and short of it is, you're a scout ship that goes out a couple months prior to colony ship. Some of this doesn't make a ton of sense when you think about it, but let's not think about it. So you go out 6 months ahead of a colony ship. You're going to a planet at Tau Ceti, which you believe is going to be prepared for humanity. You don't quite get an idea of why humanity's in such a rush, in such a drive to basically get to this other planet and do this, but regardless, you're there. And it starts out with things going wrong pretty much right away, and a mystery that begins. Of course, there's murders. There's the question of, who done it? Who done it? Who's doing it? Who's done it? And it builds from there. What I think this game does pretty goddamn well was... it allows for the player to get the information that is available for the narrative in the game a lot easier. There are a couple MP3s type of things located around. There's a couple Zunes that you go and you pick up. But for the most part, it's in-world talking to people and engaging. Also, bravo. Huge fucking kudos. Because this might be the first time I can remember any horror game doing this. There are multiple times where everybody's together. So it doesn't feel that fucking consistent one person doing something alone
Let's
and
split up and get caught out like
they don't
idiots.
do that. Dude, one of the first times, person's like, I'm gonna go do this, and I'm like, I'm gonna go with you. You probably shouldn't. And everybody's like, why? Why shouldn't she? Our entire organization is built around doubling up and having people together. And from that point on, you're not always, but many times you're doubled up. Even if you split up while you're doubled up and do different things, you're still sort of doing the same mission together. Huge breath of fresh air. Like, dude, to see everybody in a scene at one time, it dawned on me as I was playing. I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen this ever. Like instead of these discordant, here's a guy over here getting sawed in half. Here's a person that goes to the tunnels for no reason. This is like, these people are trying to do something and they're a mission-oriented group and they're going to get the mission done. And that is
makes sense,
something I love.
Their approach to it.
Yeah, their approach is very
with the information they have.
heavy. It's very like, we need to get this shit done. That was great. That was like legitimately a huge surprise. Massive improvement in their storytelling. Really did enjoy that. Thought it was great. But
oh, here we go.
Well,
there's always a but.
There are definitely times where it doesn't feel bloated as much as it feels like there's a lot of action. And they didn't really know how to deal with the action because it's a little bit like what's the one with the guy from Transformers? Not Protocol. It came out a couple years ago and it did really terribly. Glenn was the director. Glenn Schofield, I think, was the director of it. And it had the guy from Transformers, the nice looking guy from Transformers as the main actor. It was like Dead Space, but it wasn't Dead Space. Right? It's the Dead Space, not Dead Space game that came out about 2.5 years ago, had all the technical bugs. It was just a disaster, technically. Do you know the one I'm talking about? And you had all the fatalities in it. There, like, one of its claim to fame was like, you had all these weird, crazy ways to die.
Not Callisto.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol.
Callisto Protocol. Yeah,
there's a protocol in there. There's a lot of that kind of repeated action in it that I think can drag it down. That definitely becomes an issue as you're playing. You're like, okay, and then you have the ability to turn up and down a lot of the difficulties, which I think are great. You can make it story mode, right? Just work through it, which means unlimited defenses against the monsters, or you can have it be really survival oriented. There's a lot of stealth in it too. The stealth is actually it's easy, but it's sort of cool easy because the monsters move around. If they see you, they're going to attack you. They don't see the greatest, so you feel like you can actually I didn't get caught, I guess I'll say, out of the blue. I never felt like, okay, I got caught out of the blue. For the most part, I listened to what it was saying and tried to follow its ideals. There were a couple times where, like, once you do get followed, you're screwed unless you can trigger a cutscene, because that thing's going to be, it's going to be following, like, consistently. So that was a little bit at odds. But character-wise, and by the way, fucking the voice acting.
Oh yeah,
I liked.
It's great.
It's the voice acting in that game. I honestly believe the voice acting in that game is better than the voice acting in any game that they've done prior. There's always a character in that game. Remember The Quarry, where the one kid's like, "Hey,"
the tired.
Yeah. There's always some jackass, right? And then all the way, maybe Until Dawn didn't have that. Maybe Until Dawn had a hateable character, but not a bad acting character. So you go all the way back, you start looking at all these games, dude. Or this game. I just don't think there's a bad actor in the bunch. They do exactly what they're supposed to. They act the way they're supposed to. They make a couple bad decisions, obviously, and then choosing what you choose or making a bad decision. But there's so many different things that can happen in that game. I found some splits because it lets you look at splits. There's one split in the game. I don't even know how to trigger it, but I was looking at it going, that is a crazy-ass split. Like, I don't even know if I want to see what happens if I trigger this split in the storyline. Really, really a lot of different dynamics in who you can save and how you can go about it. And I mean, Creature might give some people some... It's basically like being followed around by a vagina filled with baby arms.
Oh my god.
It's
Yeah.
pretty ruthless, man. It's pretty. See an enemy like that you'd find in a tide pool, a fleshy orifice, and a head and some baby arms. It's pretty raw to be chased by that thing. I could see somebody who has trigger, who like, because that's a lot of trigger points. Whether that be like a moist orifice, whether it be random baby arms, whether it be
Yeah.
tentacles, and like there's something in there. There's a little bit in there for everybody.
Something for everybody.
There's a
in
little
there.
something in there for everybody.
Whatever your nightmare.
And that thing gets up in it. It's like right in here sometimes. And you're just like, oh my God. Even I was like, whoa, what the fuck, man? That thing is way too close to me. So yeah. Yeah, man. I not the greatest game in the world, but
good execution.
I felt better than their prior, the Man of Medan ones were definitely had their issues here and there. Dark Pictures hasn't necessarily always landed. In fact, I would say most of the time hasn't landed. I personally feel like maybe people wanted more. I don't know I saw the scores, but I didn't read them. I'll read them in a second. But personally, I would say this had a great deal more than I was expecting. But then you still have the issues. You got tech issues. You've got, you and I talked about this. You got they're using the same tech for sure. Which can be a bit, it's long in the tooth. It's weird that this looks worse than Detroit Become Human, which is 8, 9, 10 years ago.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that. But overall, man, I don't know what the cost is. I don't remember the cost of this, but I would say, generally it's better than I expected it to be. Looking here at some reviews, 7.5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 10 out of 10. No, sorry. 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
Nah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But I think an 8, again, I don't know what that score directly goes towards, but I did want to read one that I sort of agree with. This is Evil Gamers. Jerome Jansen on Open Gamer, 7.5 out of 10, does say this: the environments in Directive 8020 feel too one-sided. The who can you trust element is actually far too lacking and not convincing. So I would agree with that till you beat the game. Then you realize why. This is not a game that necessarily is playing the short game of that instant The Thing moment. It's more like the end of the movie, The Thing, when you have the two characters and they both question if either one of them are the Thing. It is more like that ending versus the middle part where you're consistently wondering who's who. Though there are
some
4
moments
times
like
where that happens. Yeah, there's 4 or 5 times where that happens. But yeah. This person gave it a 5 or 4.5 out of 5. Issues with the stealth mechanics notwithstanding, I don't know what those issues are. It could depend on the difficulty. Directive 8020 is a terrifyingly strong entry in the ongoing Dark Pictures anthology. 8 out of 5 or 8.5 out of 10. This is MKAU Gaming. A lot of these are people I haven't heard of. Told across 8 chapters and offering more than 10 hours of gameplay. Directive 8020 is a must play for anyone who loves a good jump scare. IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. Another PC Gamer gave it an 85 out of 100. So when I say it scored not great, the reason why I want to point this out is because scores don't always matter. This is why I like Open Critic. So the game scored an average of 76. Okay. But 63% or 62 to 63% of reviewers would suggest it, which is actually not the worst. That's actually pretty good. Meaning all the people who played it, regardless of any issues, would still actually suggest getting it. So it's still rated strong on Open Critic. But if you see a 76 on a Metacritic and you start looking, you can easily go, oh, this didn't score, the greatest. But technically, there's only strong, very strong, and I can't remember. I think the 98th percentile on Open Critic has another score name. But yeah, so it's strong. It's rated strong, which is not bad at all for that game. But I feel like it's the most enjoyable. For sure. Love the games. $10 super chat. Started work in security for Augusta University last week, and in the fall I plan to take some classes for fun. Not planning a degree, just want some knowledge. What are some ways you guys keep smart? Thanks for the super chat, sir. Um, I take the master classes. What do you do? That's like and read all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I do that. I read some books. Usually always have one that I'm kind of currently reading,
Yeah.
nonfiction wise. That's something that I'm thinking about. The one I'm reading now is about conversations. It's called Your Next Conversation. It's all about like connecting better with people and like
Focusing in the conversation current versus the 50 conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good book. So stuff like that I do for sure. I listen to podcasts on topics I'm interested in. And sometimes I go into rabbit holes, just like find one thing I'm fascinated by, and I'm kind of digging into that, even if I'm not gonna do it myself. Sometimes I kind of just like to expand a bit.
Yeah, I've been using a bunch of different programs for random quizzes and questions now too, which is awesome. Which is, at least for me, what it does is I have 40 questions. I was showing the guys in chat this. It has 40 questions, and you have 5 seconds to answer each question. Well, you have 15 to answer each question, and then as you answer the questions, if you answer them more quickly, it gives you less time for the next one, and then more time for the next one if you answer slowly. It goes up and down and rates them, and it's on random stuff. And I just like quizzing myself, man. I like flashcards. I just love reading. So I would say and curiosity is the only thing that is going to probably work. If you don't have curiosity, you probably won't retain much. You'll be in typical college study mode. And the reason why college kids a lot of times don't want to go and work is because you're forcing your brain to learn a bunch of stuff that you may not be interested in. And you should know it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times understanding that kind of stuff, it ends up helping you in the stuff you do like. Like if you have a foundation and somebody says, hey, blah, 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 and this is the thing you're interested in.
Instrumental to something else.
It absolutely is. Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about it more at the end of the podcast for sure. But anyway,
cool. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, but yeah, Directive, I mean, listen, it's got better reviews than I thought. I think the day it came out, it was even lower, so it seems like it's doing well now. But
I think the split thing, it's been my favorite. By the way, I didn't play. I should say I haven't played it myself. I watched someone else play it. A couple people, and a couple other people. So I've seen like most of the story, but obviously not all of it. But I love the way they present the split decisions you make, and I think it's been my favorite presentation of that, and how easy it is for you to
bounce
either instantly or later on go back on something, see how it plays out, and then if you want, just again instantly revert back to your, let's say, primary timeline. So if you wanted to see, oh, what would have happened there if I had done that, but now take me back to my, let's say, primary timeline or something.
Yeah,
I love the way you could do that so smoothly, and you could really map in your mind like the big events through the splits, because you would see, oh, I did that, they were tired, and as a result, let's say they died or they couldn't fight there. But, you can kind of see the through line of your decisions.
Yeah, they did a good job, man. I think, in all honesty, I don't know how to sell. I don't know how anything's going to sell anymore. We've been talking about this prior to the podcast, talked about it this morning in voice chat. You never know what's going to do good right now. I think we're sort of screwed on metrics for the next couple of years as algorithms change. But hopefully it does well, because, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I wish that the shit hadn't happened with the review timing and stuff like that. But such is life. I did get the Forza review out, so. But I did want to talk about it because I do think it's worth talking about. It is basically what happened, just so everybody knows, is there's a split review, which I wasn't aware of. And when the split review happened, supposedly a bunch of people also posted video reviews, which I wasn't aware of. And right now, if you're posting a day or two after, if your channel, like mine, is known mostly for reviews, you get less views on those. And then the next time you ask for a game, they look at your last video and they see it did poorly, and they're like, oh, this person must be dropping off. So I only accept ones that are either that I know that's the way it's going, and that's fine. I don't do split reviews anyway. Even if I'm ahead, I won't do split reviews if I find out about it. But for something like this, it's just right now YouTube is a really rough game. So you really have to watch out what you're doing. And I'm known for a particular thing. And if you are, the agreement between you and the others is that they'll deliver something, you'll do something. And because that changed, I was like, well, I want to cover it for sure. So I at least will cover it here. I might even cover it in like hidden games of 2026 at the end of the year, or games that like you may not have got a chance to play. I've thought about doing a last month's games you might have missed video, but that's hard too.
Yeah.
Because, somebody's going to respond and be like, I didn't miss it. I played it. And you're like, yeah, we get it. Yeah, we get it. This video was just
could
for
be
you.
A good format. I could see that working for sure.
Moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about Subnautica. So did you get it, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yeah, I played a ton.
Let's go.
And I'm surprised to say it's excellent. The reason I'm surprised is because it's early access. And the first one was really bad in early access.
Yes, it
early
was.
on.
Yes, it was.
They turned it around for sure. It was a great game in its end state. But it's good to see the foundation of this game is absolutely worth buying and playing now. I would highly recommend it if you were already a fan, or if you're simply interested to see what the hubbub is. I definitely recommend it. I think it's in a great state. We played it with 4 people and pretty much didn't run into a single issue. We had like one disconnect at one point, and then that was solved like by just recreating the lobby. Outside of that, even like on launch day, we didn't have a single issue. I didn't see like rubber banding, all these things that oftentimes you see with multiplayer games. So the co-op worked super well. The performance was quite steady for me with like 4K 60. I did use DLSS quality, but didn't feel like I had to compromise anything to get that thing running well. And it's magic, playing with your friends. I also played solo, which is also great experience. But there is something about playing with your friends and seeing them like build something around you, and then you interact with it. Maybe you help out. You got the modular vehicle where like people can sit. They're like chairs on the outside of the vehicle, so you can like hitch a ride and stuff like that.
Right.
So the team up is really cool in the way they've done this. And it feels like everything you do with your friends, you're augmenting, you're just adding, because now you have that much more of everything, more resources everybody's collecting. You're able to kind of split tasks and work together. So you can kind of accelerate the game a lot more by working together in a group. And it feels great. I think I'm surprised at how well it works. So overall, very high marks. I'm very impressed, and honestly, good to be surprised positively by an early access game.
Good to be surprised, comrade.
Yeah.
What would you say is this big claim to fame this time? What have they added?
I think
other than co-op, or I know that co-op's a thing, but I'm saying in the game, is there a mechanic or anything that's new?
That's a big thing. I would say it's really good looking. And the first game was already, really beautiful, but they got a lot of stuff going on, lots of fauna. And once again, the duality of day-night cycle is incredibly well done. It's a completely different world at night than it is during day. And it's not that just like it's pitch black, so I'm screwed at night. It's actually some stuff you see really well at night because they can glow or they can have a color. And maybe during day, they're not really highlighted, so you don't see it. So there's like some stuff you actually only find easily at night. So you have that duality. And then just the environments are really well created.
Are you able to...
I think that's what shines.
Really. Are you able to create new subs, buy new subs?
So I've only unlocked one of the vehicles. I don't know what else is there. They have the main vehicle in this game is called the Tadpole, and it's a modular vehicle where you have like the head, and then you can kind of hitch parts to it,
right?
And you can customize which modules you want to have. It's kind of similar to the one they did in the second game, but they've evolved on some of the feedback that didn't get the greatest reception, that prior vehicle. So this one, they've iterated a ton of stuff. And the idea is that you and I will end up having very different tadpoles because there's a lot of variability, or diversity of like how you can set them up with different modules and different decisions and what you prioritize and things like that. So this seems to be the main vehicle. I don't know like how many more there are. I do know this is the main one though. So instead of having like one big vehicle like the Cyclops in the first one, they want this to be the main thing where like the customization of it is its shining element rather than maybe just a bigger submarine thing. I think it works. I still prefer the big submarine, if you ask me.
Yeah. What about on foot kind of stuff, or what you're swimming most of the time? Can you get up? Are there islands and you can get onto an island and like run around?
I haven't found any yet. Okay. It's all been in the water itself. There is some stuff going on outside. We see like flying animals and things like that. So there might be islands we go to, but everything's happening underwater for like so far at least.
What do you think, like content wise? Do you think that how much is it? Like currently, how much money?
Yeah, that is a good question. I should know that. 26 British pounds right now on Steam.
26 British pounds.
What I would say, right, is I don't know how much story is missing here. I haven't found any to be missing yet. But there isn't a ton of story so far. A lot of it is, hey, you're trying to make contact with these like, prior colony spots and stuff, and learn about what's happened and what's going on. It's vague like that. And then you're being, you get signals from these wrecks and different places to go to where you're learning more through audio logs. So most of the delivery is through audio logs, and you're kind of taking this in. But I haven't found any big story yet. It might go deeper, and I hope it does. But so far, a lot of it is this sandbox gameplay where you're kind of open to explore wherever you want to go, and you're incentivized to go further, to find like blueprints for things and unlock new technology. A lot of the push to progress is that, as opposed to a really like well-structured story guiding you through. So that's what I would say, that people shouldn't expect like a super strong story hand holding you to where you need to go exactly. It's more going to be breadcrumbs, is my experience with it. And a lot of the drive is going to be your own drive to explore and unlock technology and build and stuff, which I have. But for people who don't, that might be indeed an issue, if they wanted a stronger story.
I think the guys stated that technically this is their one, like, even though it's early access, it's sort of not early access in a way. Like, there was some weird discussion around that where they were worried people would be mad. I didn't quite understand what there was. Do you know anything about that part?
All I know is that there is a story there for you to follow. I don't know like how deep it goes or how fleshed out it is, but there is already like let's say the full framework of the story itself. It might not take you all the way to conclusion yet. I think that is the case, but it's not like the story is missing. But it is very vague in how it's done. That is their style of games as well. If anybody who remembers the first game, for a lot of it, you're just being kind of left to your own devices, and you have maybe like one point of interest to go examine. And then from there, you kind of go to the next one. But yeah, it's breadcrumbs storytelling.
Is it on Game Pass?
That's a good question. I heard someone say it is. Let me check.
I feel like it is. I feel like Game Pass had that and Forza, which is that's a big.
I think you're right. Yeah,
it's a big hit if it is.
It's going to be included in Xbox Game Pass Day 1. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's nuts.
Big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to see that on Game Pass as well. Yeah, that's a lot to be doing on one thing. Yeah, it seems like everybody really likes it. A lot of people streaming it, a lot of paid for streamers, but if you even remove those, there's a lot of people seem to really be liking it. It's exactly pretty much where people, I think, wanted the first one to probably be when it first released into early access. So it's a good.
Yeah, they did really good numbers wise, right? And I think what's really cool is that the game held up, so it wasn't falling apart. The
Horizon series has occupied a very specific place in racing games for over a decade now. It's not trying to be a perfect simulator. It's not trying to model the exact molecular structure of your brake pads after 47 laps in humid weather, while a man in a polo shirt tells you about tire degradation like you're taking a graduate course in rubber sciences. It's about mud bogging at Mock Jesus, sluicing through earth juice and passing that one last mud goblin right before the finish line. But like a redneck in geography class, everybody's asking, where's Japan? Sorry, peeps. That media source was probably blasting their ears, and I apologize, guys. I apologize. You all are y'all. Sorry about that. We're gonna hear about that, I'm sure. My apologies. So a little bit about Forza. Let's see. I don't like Japan as much as I expected. We'll start with the things that surprised me. Yeah. It's not that I dislike. It's hard to describe, dude. Forza, Japan's always been break glass in case of emergency kind of thing, and so the idea, the desire for Japan is a big deal. The hope for Japan was a big deal. We get Japan, and it's finally dating the girl that you've been, wanting to date for the longest period of time, and she farts just like every other person. Doesn't mean it's terrible. Just means that it's almost exactly like what I expected. And I think dreams have a tendency of replacing reality pretty easily. And because we had played all these others and they had progressively got better, every Forza Horizon has got better and better and better and better. And now we're, 6. We're at 6. By the way, these have been outselling their father sister game for years. Like the game is massive. Where it's like 11 million for the last 2, I think. Sold 5 million on the PlayStation after just a small amount of time. Sold 6.5 on the Xbox. So the game is super popular. So it comes out. You get Japan. They did some stuff. So the first thing is you're not a part of the festival. You are going to the festival. You are basically hearing about the festival. Here's the issue with it. It doesn't change as much as I think they probably wanted. It being that it's like, okay, so I want to become a part of the person in the festival and then be in the festival, or I'm already in the festival. That's not that much of a difference when you really break it down into brass tacks. So the progression system's better. Not because of that, though. It's better because they went with the bracelet system. They went with a lot less cars given out in the Rolodex thing, in the fucking spin the wheel. Because, dude, that spin the wheel was just a dopamine fiend. I mean, it was giving out supercars and epics all the time. You're just like, boom, supercar.
You were being showered in epic cars.
Yeah, just a pinata of epic cars. You could, you could sell them on the auction house, which is there. It's great. You've got all this stuff. The nice thing about this is it's the biggest when it comes to customization. So you have the ability to custom make your own races. Obviously, we've already had that. I did that. It's great. You can just it's like ACG 1, 2, 3 is how I name them. ACG. So like you can search, you can find it, everybody can race it, you can race against friends, you could any influencer, your best friend, you could be like Johnny Plays Live, everybody notes you. Look that up. Boom. You're in a special event, Johnny Plays. It's super slick as probably we're ever going to be before mind transferal devices. That's great. And you can make your races anywhere. You can make them do anything. I have some really cool like moments in the races that are really awesome. Probably not even mimicked in the main races the developers do. That kind of stuff's great. You can also edit the world. You have this estate editor, but you can basically at any place just put ramps and races and fucking debris and all kinds of stuff.
Even in the open world?
In some of the open world places you can do it too. And so that was cool because I believe it's your open world. If you get my
it's your instance?
Yeah, it's sort of your instance.
Yeah.
So I only found that out later. I was doing it on my estate, but one of the things that I noticed on my estate is I was like, I bought this little podunk house, but I'm out in the woods and it's got an oval track the size of NASCAR for me to drop down. It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. That's when I was like, oh shit, this is everywhere, and it looks like it pretty much is. So you jump into my race, you'll have stuff that you can engage in, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of customization. Customization on your car has been improved a bit. There's some adjustments there. There's a lot of excitement around putting decals on your fucking windows, which I don't give a shit, but I did put googly eyes on my windows because I could. I was like, all right.
Is it the side windows? Or
any windows, front, side. So I put like googly eyes on the front of my car and then, a tongue on the hood.
That's a hazard, man.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times when you draw, like if you want to draw racing lines and you can't go over the windows, a lot of cars do actually have vinyls that go up the window, so it creates one cohesive look. So I can see why that to some people is a big deal. So that's in there. There's still some missing, dude. It's not. No game's gonna have every customization that are real. You go into even the most basic car shop, they're gonna have more customizations than any racing game ever. That's just the way it's going to be. You usually, when you go in there, you'll have 6 options for something, and there's probably 6,000 options for anything on a real car. So you're always going to have somebody who I think is going to feel like the most important thing is left out, but I think they did a pretty good job there. They did a good job with the audio. They changed it up a bit. It's not perfect, but there are some cars that in the prior games would sound a lot alike, where they don't so much now. However, I will say this, when you start putting aftermarket things on cars, there is a tendency for those cars to sound the same because the aftermarket thing is what makes the most sound. So
takes over.
Yeah, you'll get somebody who bitches about their car with a very particular, anti-lag or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, this car sounds like this car. And you're like, well, you're starting to apply a bunch of shit to generically the top end of something, and that's the thing that's going to resonate out. You are going to have some sameness on there. So you definitely get that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You get really good paint system. It's a little cumbersome, but flipping horizontals, getting some skins, putting them on there. There's people already have uploaded so many thousands of skins. It's ridiculous.
That's what I always do, man.
Yeah,
I look at all the talented, I just take from talented people.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's just it's definitely customization generation right now for games, and this game is embrace that. I mean, there's almost everything's customizable. Even your garage, you go into your garage, that's customizable. But you can also download other people's garages and just buy their stuff to make your garage look like their garage. So now you don't have to worry about your garage looking like shit. Because, dude, when I put a garage together, I could spend 9 months putting a garage together, and that would still look like a homeless person stays there at night and leaves during the day. It would just look terrible.
Yep.
I don't know why. I'm not good at placing stuff in games like that. It's just not for me. But
I'm like you, man.
To grab somebody's stuff and then augment it, I can make mine look different then. It's like their base in a game is not good enough, but a person's base is good enough. So you can do that. You can go and you can grab that. Racing feels good. It is a game that like definitely wants to, it wants to have it both ways. It wants to be arcade and simmy. So when you get with a gamepad, you might feel a little off on some things. You get a steering wheel, you might feel off on the steering wheel. It just depends on which wheel, depends on force feedback and stuff. But it is ingenious. It plays really well. But Well, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what people think. I feel like I wish Japan had been last game. Because we've got all the parts of Japan in other games, meaning environments and stuff. They've all, since all the DLC and all the other games, we've got all the parts that are separate. And now Japan as one is there, and there's some iconic things in there that is great. But the actual map itself, there were times where I was like, man, this feels pretty contained, feels pretty tight. But we'll just have to see when everybody races, because it's an open world game, man. You know, I think open world to a lot of us in a sports car means I want to drive at full blast for a long period of time. And so you get a game like Fuel, or you get a game like The Crew, where they're massive, but they don't feel nearly as good. And this game is not that. It's sort of the opposite of that. It feels much more self-contained, but if its driving is much more enjoyable. Like, just,
I mean, dude, distinctly. I was just watching you terracing through this terrain. You just, going down like through trees and everything. That looked awesome.
Yeah. Man. And that's the thing. That's when Forza's, especially the Horizon series, is just the most fun.
Yes, because you can keep going.
Yeah. And they've definitely curbed the auto stop, I've noticed. I feel that they've curbed a lot of the auto stops. You don't get as many stops on areas. You still get them. Also, Japan has a lot of beaches with rocks. And so you will end up crashing into a rock quite often, and the rocks don't have to be very high to stop you. So I put together 2 or 3 races in the mountains for Discord. Well, anybody who's an ACG fan. And in those areas, there's a couple where I purposely made it a little difficult. If you're driving, you can hit a rock and be like, boom, you're zeroed out. You're 60 to 0 instantly without really being aware of it, which is fun, but at the same time could bother some people, especially I was in a big old Blazer with huge tires, and I'm like, dude, I'm not saying it wouldn't have destroyed the Blazer, but I don't think a Blazer would have stopped, if it was going 90 miles an hour on this rock. It would have flown into the air and killed everybody.
So it's not necessarily like Snow Runner simulation where the size of the wheel depends.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Got 550 plus cars, a shit ton of cars, and it runs spectacularly well. That's, I think, the one thing out of this game that helps it is
they're always so good with that.
Yeah, it runs spectacularly well. Like, it's ridiculous. You can run that thing on low on a potato at 60. You wouldn't. This game is probably the first one where I would say if somebody's playing 60 to 90 and you're playing 30, because of the weight and how things feel in this game, you might actually notice a little bit of a difference there in handling that's beyond the typical 30-60 that we always talk about. But if you want 60 on this, you don't need much. And then their ray tracing isn't super heavy. It's heavy, but you have enough settings for it. You know how some games will just be like, ray tracing's on, and that's sort of it. And you're like, oh, and maybe their settings are too high, and you're like, oh, fuck, that sucks. This isn't like that. This is like, when you turn ray tracing on, it turns off the other lighting effect and turns on ray tracing, but it's still got a low, medium, high, ultra for one setting, and then global illumination another. And it's actually pretty nice because you can then sort of dial it in instead of being like either ray tracing is on and a bunch of shit has to go off, or and here it's more like ray tracing is on, and I think I can figure out a way to get to 60, 90. Also, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they have a new driver set, maybe, but with frame gen on the 4090, that the millisecond drop and with delay boost on was just imperceptible. It was ridiculous.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was, now admittedly, the higher FPS you'll get when you do a 2 or a 4, it'll be less noticeable, but the number itself is what I'm talking about. The number itself did not jump up, not just for me as a person driving, because I can race a 30 FPS game. Won't be the greatest experience, but it's like I won't lose my lunch over it. But something about this seems just really highly optimized. They did a good job. The big problem with this game, noticeable problem with this game, is they have a sphere of influence. And where that sphere is where your highest effects are.
Yeah.
And if it's out
I noticed that watching your video. Yeah.
If it's out of that experience, Johnny, it is like God goes.
Almost like a Crimson Desert.
Something. Yeah. It's
not as bad as that.
It doesn't have that bad a pop in as Crimson Desert, but it's got a lighting thing that you're like, whoa, that's and what's weird
kind of like the grass starts.
Yes. It's like the shade gets instantly added,
coming to life.
And I was like, oh, is Ultra broken? I'm gonna go to like High and see if High did it. No, High didn't do it. I couldn't really dial that in, and it becomes this ball of light around you that's like, here's your ball of effects, and then past that you're gonna see it. And the thing is during a race, do I notice it? No. During like a high stakes race, I just don't notice it. But the moment there's no race, the moment I'm just driving, it is definitely noticeable. They also have the ability to make the FOV wider. I didn't really notice much of a frame rate hit on higher FOV, so I would suggest most people, if you get a chance, the FOV is pretty tight in your first-person modes. So if I were you, I would go into the options. I think it's actually in-game. I don't think it's in graphics. And there's a section there that's like bumper, first-person dash, first-person steering wheel, whatever. Crank those up because it only goes up a little bit, and it widens your view, and it didn't really seem to affect the FPS for me at all. And yeah, it runs great, man. It runs great, sounds good. Music stations they are what they are. Listen, dude. I mean, they are what they are. They are a product of their location, though. I would say that. So if you aren't into like Crybaby, punk or whatever,
okay, that's gonna be an experience.
Be prepared. Yeah, there's a hard rock classic kind of channel, but you're like, that's not exactly. You know how, and I remember, I think it was in Britain, if you turn on theirs, you'd get the, British and Euro kind of songs. And in American Forzas, you're going to get whatever's there. They tried to meet halfway. I think there's 10 or 12 radio stations here. I just had to turn it on synthwave for the most part. And then I turned it off because I just like driving. I don't really need a bunch of music there. If I did, it would be something like Rob Zombie or something, and that's not going to be on a radio station. So,
what about the terrain? Because you have so much diversity, and like one moment you're on the road, and then you're like on snow or on mountainside. Was there a big difference in feel, like when you're driving through these different terrains?
In feel in the cars. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in fact, if you do a long race and it's cross country, be prepared because there is a massive difference when you're even close to a pavement versus gravel versus mud versus. I will say the mud. Speaking of mud, actually, so there's rally races in this. This is the one thing I don't think Forza Horizon is ever going to hit well. I don't think it's ever going to hit it well because I don't think it can, which is true mud feel that you might get in a super muddy area in dirt or to a vast, unacceptable amount, which would be something like SnowRunner. It's not hitting that. It hits dirt and you can feel you're on dirt and you're throwing dirt, but it never ever feels like mud or, like your car can almost always go forward, for instance. And so you'll have this ricer that's slammed to the gills. The water is here on a creek, and you pretty much gun it, and you're going to go forward. You're like, they don't have that. That's not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to stymie you. They're trying to actually say, we're not going to stymie you. So it's like, here's the feel of something, but not all the idiosyncrasies and the risk. And I would say that that's a little bit noticeable in some of the dirt racing areas where it'd be nice to have a little bit more of a racing line feel in some of those. And it could have just been the races I did. Could have just been, but there were times where I was like, yeah, I can't really feel the dirt pile up into a rut in the same way that you can And by the way, maybe that's even unfair to even say towards this game, because it is trying to do everything and it's doing so much right that it's like, how far are we going to go? So,
and they are trying to remove all of those punishing elements of sim,
dude, that would be ridiculous anyway. I just think the feel of thick dirt and stuff is not there yet. It's the one thing that's not there. It still feels good. Fair. I mean, you still feel like you're rallying, but you feel like you're arcade.
Do you see, like, does it splash on your car? Like, you got that's
the
cool.
effects ain't great though, man. So somebody was trying to tell me, they were like, because I want the damage systems to be increased, and they were like, oh no, this is manufacturers, and I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about. First of all, there's a bunch of damage on the cars anyway. So if the manufacturers are going to identify shitty looking damage versus good looking damage, they want what I want. Doesn't make any sense. What I'm talking about is the level of effects are very low. So when you get a scratch on your paint, you can literally see massive polygons in the, because they're low resolution.
The texture itself is like,
and that's something that's been a thing for ages. It's actually been a problem of theirs for ages, where the decal for damage is like either small, or then if they want a bigger one, they blow it up, or if they want a bigger one, they blow it up even farther, and they don't anti-alias it. So you're just like, what is going on? It looks like somebody took a hash of metal or an old, fence and threw it against the car. And that's noticeable for me through the entire thing, where I'm like, man, for some reason, their damage doesn't have a definitive line of detail to where it feels like a small scratch and a large scratch are different. It feels like the small scratch is blown up to be the bigger scratch. And it's like, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great. In fact, a lot of my replays I felt were a little bit ruined, because I would see my car crumpled and be like, I'm fine with that. But then it'd pan to the side and you'd see these scratches and you're like, that it's almost as if Final Fantasy's door hadn't loaded, which is what I thought when I was racing it.
You keep waiting for it to load.
I keep waiting for a higher resolution asset to load. Yeah. And that's been a thing since I think the original time they started doing damage on these cars. It's just been a thing.
I remember that in the last one, and they're still struggling.
Yeah, they're still struggling. But yeah, dude, great game. The only thing about it is we have early access versus early play. So they do early play, so it's 3 days early. And
it was quite early. I think so. 19th is the general release,
and today,
and as early as yesterday,
or yesterday morning, or yesterday night. Yeah. I don't like any of them. I guess with this one, we've talked about this before, where this is the type that I think we're the most. It's the least. I guess you'd say the least egregious. Yeah. Because me, I'm not a big fan of like early access where you don't know if the game's even gonna play or whatever. This game plays well, and you are just paying for 3 days early. It feels like that's the way most of these companies are now moving. This is like the 19th game to do it. I mean, there's been so many games that have done it now. So there is that. One nice thing about it, though, I mean, will you be, like, if you try to jump in there and race anybody else, will you be behind a little bit? Yeah. For like a leaderboard kind of thing, you will. But it's not going to take very long for it really to come down to talent,
I feel like the game doesn't... You could have a better car, but the difference is not that wild, right? For someone who's been grinding a bit more.
Not if you're doing a static race, no, because they have their classes and stuff like that.
Like within the same class. I feel like it's still in the ballpark. Love it,
but it feels like this is, of all the egregious ways to deliver a game, feels like this is the least.
And I mean, at least you're getting some extra value, you could say, if you decide to get the deluxe.
I'm a big fan of the descending value too. I'm a big fan of, like, let's say you want it 5 days early and it's 30 extra bucks, then 4 days early it's 25, 3 days early it's 20. I don't like that, but if they're going to do this, I don't think I want anybody buying for 1 day early, because I could see a lot of people getting FOMO for a full day and then paying 30 extra, and now they only have 2 extra days in front. Do you see what I'm saying? So they wait a day. And then they pay the same amount to go in early. And it's like, I don't know in the future, if we're going to have to look at that, where it's a sliding scale kind of thing, where it's like, hey, if we're going to do this in the future, then we need to figure it out. But I do want to say, if this lets them keep games at a normal price, that's life.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to do it,
I mean, like we talked about, it's still preferable than all games are now going to be this price.
Yeah.
If it's at least an option, like for people who want to pay the normal price, they're okay waiting a few more days. Yeah.
So we'll just have to see, man. We'll just have to see. And then, so it's on Game Pass. That is out now for people. And so is Subnautica on Game Pass. So, goddamn, man, they're nailing it.
Yeah,
Game Pass
big month for Game Pass.
Dude, Game Pass is over. Game Pass is never going to last. I just want to say.
I mean, look, personally, I don't sub to it. It's just like full disclosure. But for someone who likes the jumping between games a lot more, I think it's great. A month like this where you can pay 1 month and then like play a little Subnautica, play a little Forza.
I have 2 accounts that I pay for. One for me and one for like a test, and then a friend account that I pay for. Dude, it's saved me beyond belief, because they also give you deals on games you buy. So it's like you get a % off. Like
DLC and stuff.
Dude, Subnautica, not to be rude towards Subnautica, but there's a very low chance I would jump into Subnautica at all. That game is there now. Like that is I'm sorry, but that is a massive deal that Subnautica is on Game Pass. That is like phenomenal savings. And the thing is it's a good tester for somebody to say, do I like this? Do I not? I'm going to jump onto my PC and buy this instead, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. It's like there's always somebody who has an issue with somebody else getting a deal. And it's like, hey, at least they're not going to CD keys to get a deal. They're getting a deal in their own way.
Just in case it helps you actually play the game, I'm giving you like envelope over the table, blank check. Whenever you want to play, if you want to like do co-op, I will shard time aside to play with you. Just putting that in there. You don't need to take it.
For Subnautica?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would rather play with somebody else than by myself in Subnautica, for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
I like the idea of Subnautica being a group. Subnautica's got a lot of shit. I think survival games, if I am going to jump in, I probably would.
They're tough.
I would, yeah. With
I think
else is the best way
that is definitely one of the better ones to jump into.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's backed up by the reviews and everybody talking about it. It's definitely high up there. Valheim,
but hey, you still have to drink a lot of water and eat a lot of fish. I will say that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. You do have modes, right, where you don't do it, but the normal mode.
Drink water, man. Fish poop.
Survival.
Fish poop. I'm just joking. All right, moving on from there. So, Forza Horizon 6, good reviews, doing incredibly well. Let's actually look at Forza Horizon 6's review score on OpenCritic real quick. 91. Damn. 100% critics recommend. That's fucking okay.
You don't see that.
Ridiculous. You don't see
super
that
often, huh?
No, that's 91's high. Now, I guess that's why I brought up. I want to bring this up before we move on. This is why I brought up the Japanese thing. I think it's a very good game without the Japanese being the location, without Japan being the location. That's why I was saying, like, it is a phenomenal game for the most part, regardless of idiosyncrasies, outside of just being Japan. So if somebody is also buying into Japan, great. If somebody is worried that it's Japan-centric, meaning it's going to feel weird or it's going to feel so like fan basey that they're
waifus all over the place.
Don't worry about that, because it's not. Because I could see that actually being a worry where somebody's like, I get everybody else likes Japan and thinks that's a big deal, but I would like just to play another Forza game. That's there. It's there in spades. Dude, I know for a fact multiple people, and there's nothing wrong with this. This isn't this type of game, where most of their review time was racing drivatars and just doing random races, because they just didn't want to deal with the story or whatever, because they were worried it was going to do that. But when you play the story, it's mostly they use different terms for different things. Like in Britain or Australia, they'd be like in the Australian outback, and you'd have that little story there. Here, instead, it's like
out in the bush.
Yeah, here, and they're like in Japan, we have this. That's it. That's as far as you go. You're not. It's not like you're playing. I saw the thing with the Mac. Smashing gotchas or okay. There is that. Yeah, there is
like a couple of cultural things like
that.
There
is that.
Yeah.
There's also some, I guess you would call them, mini activities you can do. Food delivery.
Can you eat ramen?
You personally?
No, I mean, like, is there some ramen in game somehow? Did they put that in?
Well, yeah, you're delivering food. Yeah, there's technically there you go. In there.
All right,
ramen's in there. But yeah, man. Jason. I mean, they did well. And this is going to keep them. This is funds for them. They've got Fable. They've got next Motorsport. Motorsport has definitely, this last one didn't sell great. I think the sim racing community, it's very difficult to break into that. So I think they're relooking at like, how do you do the next Motorsport? But I think for Horizon, it's not about that. It's like the world is porn in and of itself. It's nature when you see it. That's porn. You look at nature and you're like, this is an amazing looking place. When you look at Japan, you see Brazil, Australia, you see those places, you're like, I know that place, I want to go there. Forza Horizon nails that. It is tourism, adventure, race porn, and it's at its best when that's all it gives a fuck about, is showing you these places. Mount Fuji, showing it to you. And I put that in the footage of the video, like one of the first places you go, you just fly off into the wilderness and you see it in the background. You're like, I know where I am. Like this is exactly what I wanted from this game. They do a great job with that. No real complaints for the game, which I will say. So no, as far as maybe the music,
clean bill of health.
Yeah. She got her checkup. No STDs. So no.
Wow.
No infections. Yeah, it was good, man. It was a good game. Glad they did it. Microsoft, I think they care about this game, not more than others, but I think that they know that Forza Horizon is money in the
their
bank.
Bread and butter, maybe.
Yeah. They've got a big deal. When you sell on the PlayStation, you sell like that many copies on a port of an old game. You have to look at that. That is
crazy.
Yeah, you have to look and go, okay, this game sells in and of itself. We've hit it. We know what we're doing with this. So, yeah. And 550 cars. By the way, there's going to be somebody who finds some arcane, backwards ass steering, fucking reverse tricycle vehicle that's not in there. There's going to be vehicles that aren't in there.
They don't have the...
Yeah, they don't have the fucking 1967 car that blew out. They've got so many cars. It's ridiculous, dude. There's so many. I had so many cars by the time... I'm not done. I played this morning, but so many cars, man. So many cars. Does Tokyo look sick?
That's always been the cool aspect, the fantasy of just collecting all these cars, having them, customizing them, and then like each race pulling a different one.
I will tell you this. I don't know if this will ever happen again, but the best customization ever in a game is called Need for Speed Carbon. And Carbon allowed you to cut into the bodies of the cars. So you could literally remove... So if you wanted to make a fender with a cutout section, you could do that. You could literally slice into the car and remove sections of the car. It's never been done again, as far as I know, outside of Carbon. And I got to tell you, I personally believe if Forza ever figured that out, I don't know if that's a manufacturer thing. I don't know why Carbon allowed it and they didn't. But the ability to put your own hood slices in and show your engine, all that kind of stuff, would literally be like a seminal moment for me. One of the moments where I'd be like, finally, because I remember Carbon. I mean, every person I talk to who's ever played that game, I'll be like, yeah, but one of the best customization, and everybody in the room will be like, Carbon. For sure. People remember it for this ability that doesn't exist anywhere else. So I would love to see that in customization. I would also like to see more body style stuff, because you put on a couple fucking tails, they all start to look the same. It's like, listen, there's probably 6,000 rear, wings that you can put on cars. Let me go sort of nuts. Let me adjust the size of these. Let me adjust the size of, bumpers. Let me do a little bit more. maybe that's for the next one, but I do feel like it was also at times different that isn't done
with those games. That game and Need for Speed Underground 2 were kind of some of the bigger ones, or maybe most wanted.
Yeah.
But those also, you have the kind of neon glow under the car style.
Yeah. Yep.
Like all those effects, all those things were so related to that culture, that kind of street culture, that don't really translate into Forza, right? It's not really the vibe.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things also can't be here. But I agree with you. I would love to see some free form, just like sculpting elements of your car. That would be incredible.
Go to YouTube Shorts and look at the Japanese guy. I can't remember his name, but he's the Japanese Porsche artist. And they fly him out to somebody who owns a Porsche, and he looks at it for 2 hours and then starts cutting pieces off and regluing them on. And like it's a statue for each person who owns a Porsche. That kind of stuff in a fucking racing game. And I feel like this is the game where they're making enough money. They're making 11, 15 million sales. This is the game that if I were them, I'd be like, hey, man, why don't we just add the ability for a person or to build on a car in some way?
Sure.
But instead, you get hood scoops, which is great. But a lot of cars do have cutout hoods. They do have things cut out of stuff. They do have places where it's not even aerodynamic. It doesn't matter. It's about the angular shape. It's about the weird alien look of things. And we have Halo in there, for Christ's sakes. If you have the Halo Warthog in there, let me cut into my car a little bit. That would be my big.
Put some spikes on it.
Yeah, I think Carbon's customization is so far beyond any other game that when that finally, if somebody ever figures it out, maybe it's a licensing thing. That would be the big bonus for a game like this. And then also DLC. I was thinking about this too. I don't know Akira Naka. I don't know what the DLC will be for this. Like, are they gonna have a new location? Or
what's been do you have one big favorite DLC that sticks out in your mind?
Britain has the big snowy. They added the wind snow gales, and so I can't even remember what the DLC was called, but I remember playing it, and it was one of the few DLC reviews I've done where I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I liked that. For Japan, I mean, I like location. I feel like DLC in racing games, there's DLC and there's expansions. I am talking about expansions right now. With an expansion, it needs to expand, right? Like, its word is what it is. Its word is its bond. So I would like to see more locations. I don't know enough about Japan locations where that would be, where there's a spot that they're like, okay. But when you look at the map, there are places of the map that are not covered. So there are places you could put if you did the expansion.
Did you like the Lego DLC? Did you play that?
I did. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. It was a different feel. It was like what the hell is
when
this?
You broke stuff and it was all blocks.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Cool. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. What's Forza Horizon but a fun? I mean, that is their
thing.
That's their bread.
What was the other one? What was that called? The kind of toy cars.
Matchbox.
Not Matchbox. They had
Matchbox had a
Hot Wheels.
No, Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Matchbox Hot Wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also cool.
Yeah, very good. Very cool stuff. Yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, we'll just have to see. But those are the bits of 2 games that I covered this week. Both pretty good. I actually really enjoyed my time with both of those games. It's actually pretty
funny. Just
pretty
last month, we were saying it was a big month for games. Lots of stuff coming out. This month, boom! Again, we got maybe like 3 or more really, really good games, really big games.
Yeah, it's been pretty insane to see like just what's coming out and how much enjoyment you can get out of a game. I think I do feel like maybe some people need a bit of a break right now. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like a bit of a break might be due. Did you have some news? If you do, I'm going to let this dog out real quick. Take about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I had a few things. I mean, Nintendo had a bunch of stuff that popped up because they released their numbers and stuff. And some of their sales numbers are bonkers. Like, for example, a couple of things that stood out to me. Bocopia sold an insane amount. So it sold over 4 million units since March. That's when it launched, the 5th of March. So 4 million units, doing very well. They also have this other game, Tomodachi Life, which also popped off. And I think it sold 3.8 million units in 2 weeks. That's what the article was saying. So, I mean, Nintendo's doing incredible. Their Switch 2 also sold 19.86 million units. Consoles sold. Yeah, that was all their report for FY 2026. So, I mean, they are kind of taking over.
Yeah, they did well.
That's
insane. They just announced that. Was that their financial?
Yeah, they had the earnings report, and even Switch 1, by the way, it sold 3.8 million, which is no slouch, even
no
though,
slouch at all,
considering how old it is.
Yeah.
And then they had another patent battle, right? They're always trying to claim these insane patents. Like, if you remember, they tried to do one for like capturing monsters.
Yeah.
As generic as that. Like, if you have a game where you capture a monster, that's patented. They didn't win that. They also didn't win this one. They wanted to patent using a touchscreen. Using a touchscreen to move a character in a video game. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Some people were saying this was linked to the upcoming Pal World mobile game.
And they were trying to patent that before this became a thing?
That's what I saw in the article. I don't know if it's true. But yeah, some of these are wild patents. I'm glad none of them are landing. But it's crazy they can even go for this, honestly.
I mean, they can go for whatever they want. I'm glad they're not winning them.
Yeah. That's the big thing. But it feels like there should be some stuff that's just shut down before it's even filed.
Yeah.
Like, no, bro, you can't patent a touchpad. Like,
well,
I don't know.
Elder Scrolls went after Mahjong, didn't the guy who did Minecraft, right? Because he had something.
Oh yeah,
that mimicked that.
And didn't Elder Scrolls do something like that? There was a similar thing with the name.
No, that's what I'm saying. Elder Scrolls went after Mahjong.
Oh, it is that.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is that. Yeah, they went after. I think his name's Mahjong. I can't remember. It's his username or whatever. But yeah, they went after him for like. I can't remember what he was making, but they were like, and then Monster Energy drink. I think they tried to patent Monster, right? So like, yeah. You can patent anything if you're the first, right? But luckily, well, look at like websites. If somebody's sitting on a URL, a company, can go in and try to get that URL for them person, which I've always found a little weird because they don't want somebody just buying all the URLs. But at the same time, what if somebody was making a plan to make a Microsoft URL? Because it's super small software on your PC, Microsoft. Okay, so we're making super small, I'm talking about prior to this happening. Microsoft says, oh, well, we're a big company. We want this URL. There's some idiosyncrasies there between like ownership and just sitting on a URL. But same thing with patents, where you're like, I get it. Sometimes I really do understand you, but like patent gameplay, I don't know, man. Like, I guess you have to now. I guess there's just too many makers making too many things that somebody's going to copy everything if they can get away with it. China's going to have 60 ripoffs of your game. I don't know if you saw this news article. It was about a month ago where an indie dev released a game here and it sold like 100,000 copies. And within 3 days, there were like 15 Chinese ripoffs that were as good with more content. It was ridiculous. Wow. He was just like, holy shit. They were like, that's how quick, they popped up. So
okay.
Very possible.
Yeah, maybe I'm being naive because I was thinking, look, if you're confident in your game, like, hey, we make the best monster catching game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, if you're a game freak and you think Pokemon is the best, right? You say, okay, feel free to copy us, have a crack at it, but we're confident that ours is the original. It's the real shit, right? We're not fussed if Joe Bob comes up with like Brokemon, and it's like the same thing with different names.
Brokemon.
But at the same time, that's naive because, like you're saying, the reality is with all the tools we have now, not only like AI, but assets, libraries, blueprints and everything, you can get something up to speed quite quickly.
Yeah.
If you fast track all the creative process by stealing the idea, right? So you got like already a really good idea that's proven. So you just pick up on that and then you kind of execute it in a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how that's not fair. I get that argument.
Yeah, it's just hard to prove it, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to prove wrongdoing. What else do you got for news?
The other thing I saw is the Dying Light franchise director is leaving Techland after 13 years. That's big.
I told him he needs to make a living, what was it, Dying Light? Living Darkness. He needs to make a game where you're the zombie.
Yeah.
He needs to go out there and make a game where you're the zombie. On Twitter, I told him, I was like, dude, it's your time. He drove that for fucking so long. Long.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's a massive franchise. And I mean, so much content they did for those games.
Hey,
really incredible.
I like the games.
So
I know people didn't like 2 as much. I know some people didn't like 1. I know some people, I think most like Dying or the Beast, whatever. It's, and then the following is there.
Yeah.
But regardless, I actually like them all. I think that they've pretty much hit it really well for each one of their games. They've done really good. So it'll be up to his replacement to be on the ball because those games are just fun zombie games. There's always something special, always something cool to do, always something.
And it's a unique zombie game too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the idea
compared
of
to
mixing the parkour
else.
Compared to everything else. Yeah. Yeah, even Dead Island, which I really enjoy, and Dead Island 2, I had a great time with. It's still more the zombie style game. And you get Dying Light, which, yes, it is, but it's just a different feel. The parkour, the stunt, the fucking parachuting, there's a little bit more of a thought process there that can turn out to be enjoyable. And Dying Light 2 in particular and the Beast have a bunch of guns in them now too, so they can feel more, if you're one of those kind of people that gets tired of beating somebody up with a fucking barbed wire hammer, which I don't know how you would be tired of doing that, because that right there is like the funnest thing in the world. Then you can do it here. My YouTube page crashed. Give me a second to load back up. Anyway, there it goes. Oh nope, it's completely crashed. He
did say
so weird. What were you saying?
When he left, he said in his statement that the franchise is in great hands, and I'm excited to see it grow even further, and I can't wait to experience its next chapter. So it's not like the franchise is stopping after him, Nope. So good to hear that he's got it planned out.
Yeah, I don't think there's any indication that that it was bad, whatever, that it was a bad situation or something like that. Ooh, boy.
No.
There we go. It's finally loading. My Firefox doesn't like the live window, the live YouTube. I don't know what it is. Live YouTube and Windows, there's something about it. Or sorry, at Firefox, there's something about it. Love Dead Island 2. Yeah, Dead Island 2 was a absolute blast. Dying Light 2, 1, The Beast. They're all good. I mean, they're all enjoyable games. It's actually pretty crazy to see how much fun you can have with those kind of games. What else do we got?
That's all that popped up on my radar.
All right, I got some questions here. Do you have any questions? I didn't ask. I asked for questions late, so if we don't have any, it's fine.
We got a couple questions there in the Discord.
Let's do it.
You want me to go through those? This one from Buke. Since we are talking Forza, when it comes to racing games, do you have a preferred make or model you like to drive?
Oh.
There's just something about screaming down the road in a Dodge Viper that brings out the kid in me. In the Horizon games, I've always liked how the rally racing feels and always prefer to go down that path first. What races do you enjoy the most? Or do you find most enjoyment just cruising around? Thanks for the pod as always, gentlemen. And the thousands of hours of content over the years. Have a good weekend. Cheers, man.
Honestly, man, I've changed a big deal. I've gone back and forth to what my favorite cars were, but now I've been loving the Blackwing because I was going to get one. I didn't. I love it in this game. There's a couple Cadillac sedan, super high horsepower sedans I've enjoyed. I definitely like the old 57 Chevy, cranking that up and putting giant motor tires on it. Chevy Bronco.
Yeah.
Blazer, sorry, Chevy Blazer. I adore. And then and Mad Max and the fuck out of the Chevy Blazer is just awesome.
What is the Bronco?
Bronco is your Ford.
That's
Bronco.
In my head.
Ford Bronco.
Okay, yeah.
Basically,
it's
they're
like
the ones.
American Muscle style.
Ford Bronco's the truck, but instead of a truck, it's got the cab at the back, and so people can four-door. It's a four-door, and then the Blazer is its competitor at the time. Bronco is usually smaller. Let's see. I don't really have a Skyline like I like the Subaru or the Nissan. Yeah, I don't really have any of those. I'm definitely more Euro high level, larger. There's a couple two doors I really do like, but for the most part, I definitely like super high horsepower luxury cars. I've always liked those. I don't know why. Maybe since Transporter. I mean, those are only BMWs Transporter or Audis. I think those are BMWs. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think it was BMW. What he drove. Those were really, really cool. I've always liked the Porsche Carrera.
Yeah. Some of the Porsche. Okay, that's true. That is true. Some of the Porsche are really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, just such a nice, sleek design. I do like some of the bigger ones, like the Subaru Impreza or like the Nissan. Those are great as well. Mostly for my time, like when I used to watch Fast and Furious, right? And I was playing Need for Speed, and we were talking about the neon lights under the car and stuff. That kind of phase. It was more so those type of cars, but yeah, I mean, I love a lot of cars, man. That's why I like switching a lot. It's one of the things I like in Forza that, you can jump a lot.
I think there was a Corvette Sledgehammer. I think Sledgehammer is the right name for it that I used to like in the past run Corvettes. I'm not a Corvette fan, but there was one or two that I liked the rear end of. Couple Lamborghinis in this I liked. Overall, I mean, I'll drive. Dude, I've got like some shit vehicles, and once you sport them up, they're sort of fun to drive around. I think that's the thing is like in a weird.
Sometimes a jalopy is fun.
Sometimes a jalopy is fun, and you'll find a vehicle that you never thought you would. You're like, holy shit. In fact,
sure.
I definitely like. So there's you can do rear wheel, front wheel, for some cars, and then all wheel drive. Well, there's the ability to switch out to an all wheel drive for any car, and what I've been doing is because one of the locations here has a lot of a lot of vehicle modifications where they put all-wheel drive in a car that normally doesn't have it if you want it. And it's been interesting to drive cars that I've known all my life as rear-wheel drive with all-wheel drive. And so with I think it was the Chevy, the 57. I think it's a 57 Chevy in this game. I put all-wheel drive in it just for the hell of it. I was like, yeah, dude, that'd be weird to see how this works. And it's one of my favorite cars. I'm just like, oh my God, this thing is incredible. It's a beast.
Okay.
So
I'm going to betray my ignorance real quick, but I need to learn this for my own education. Okay. When you say like Chevy 57, does that mean that the car was made in 1957?
Yeah. It means it's a classic it's just a classic car. It's just one of their classic years.
But is it like guitars where they're being made now, but in the image
no.
of like
well,
that?
I mean, in the game, it's a new 57, as in it's
right,
not rusted.
No, I got you.
But yeah,
but like in real life, if you were to talk,
nobody's remaking that. No.
Okay.
All they do,
because guitars, they will do that. They'll say, "Oh, it's a Fender."
Yeah.
60s, but it's made today.
The closest you had here was a thing called the Prowler. And the Prowler was a fairly substantial idea that didn't really substantially do anything. But it was the idea of returning a coupe, old style, convertible top, race / like pseudo muscle car to a now day and time. And they made the Prowler. It didn't do incredibly great, and it didn't drive incredibly great, but it was an attempt at like taking the old and really truly saying like, what if today?
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll say like, oh, Mustang is, and then now the new Mustang, but you're like, yeah, there's always been Mustangs. This was like, there's a 50-year gap, and we're doing a Prowler, which is going to call back to these ancient designs.
Right.
I mean, the ancient designs ain't that comfortable. Like, you look at a 57 Chevy, that's not very comfortable. You look at that car and you're like, I don't think that's going to be a car, unless you're a classic lover, that a person's going to want to drive around. But it just doesn't look, but some of the cars would be, depending. Yeah, some of the cars would be. But I love messing around with the customization in this game, because it does allow you to do that. It does allow for you to fuck things up and put things in cars that just wouldn't have it. And you're like, okay, well, that'd be fun to see how this.
What would it be like?
What would it be
drive
like?
That with?
Yeah, especially for a car that's known, for example, if you are driving a Porsche that's known for being an absolute death machine, rear-wheel drive. It's like, well, how would it handle if it was all-wheel drive? And you get to check that out, and I think that's great. I don't care if there's some tech head out there who's like, well, technically, I don't give a fuck about technically. Nothing about technical in a game where you can launch yourself 600 feet and land with 0 forward movement on the end of a mountain and not break your spine and be sucking on the back of your own kneecap. If you can do that, you can put an all-wheel drive in your car.
And that's what we want from this game,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, yeah, that's exactly right. What else do we got for questions?
This one from Pillowcase. What game would you compare Directive 8020 to? Is it as creepy as Alien Isolation?
Nope, it's not that creepy. The Quarry. It's definitely closer to the Quarry than and Until Dawn than it is any of the other Man of Medan or any of those. But yeah.
Yeah. Man of Sedan.
Man of Sedan. Man of meh. Man of meh. Yeah, definitely not as creepy. No, but those monster designs are something else. Depending on, you see some stuff and you're like, damn, I don't know, man. Because body horror is definitely what this game has at times, and it just depends on how you deal with that. Sense of isolation is not as heavy because there are times where you're as a group. There's also a sense of isolation just in that you don't know who to trust for a little while. So,
yeah.
What else do we got?
Kind of like The Thing vibe,
very.
But in space. And
very. Yeah,
more flashy. That's it for questions in the Discord.
All right, let me grab these. Nope, that doesn't make any sense. I think we asked that. Between Game Pass PC, this is doesn't say their name. Between Game Pass PC Plus, rising game prices, and battle passes, I genuinely can't tell what the cheapest way to stay current even is anymore. Do companies actually know what consumers want at this point? I think a company only knows or can only identify what the consumer of their particular thing is, because you don't have the data from another company, right? And even your own company's data, as Rory's pointed out millions of times, can lead you completely astray, because you'll think people are purchasing for one thing and you'll find out that, for example, Fallout, you could look at Fallout and go, oh, Fallout is really popular in the early summer months, and not realize Fallout the movie or the TV show came out, and that's why you're selling a bunch, right? If you don't have the proper data. But I do understand can't tell the cheapest way to stay current is even more. It used to be go find a deal. Now there's so many deals. It's everybody's version is different. I think your honest bet is don't worry about other people, and just, you know, if you want to save money in your own way. There is probably no cheapest way, because even Johnny's prices are different than mine. So I can't even track Johnny's prices as being that they're not even going to be the same. So it wouldn't even make sense. Things are just all over the place. It is. I've noticed it's very confusing. Even people lately that are in like a couple Discords where people reviewing games, or just people who should be in the know, are really confused about where things are. And I think it's just too many changes at once. Tariffs, game prices going up, down, different companies doing different things, different
consoles going up,
things PC. That don't make any sense happening, or you think they don't make sense. So, Star Fox remake. Here's a question about the Star Fox remake. Why does Nintendo keep rebooting Star Fox instead of just making a smaller scale sequel people can love organically? So I don't know enough about that question. I did see the Star Fox video. We can talk about that a little bit. What I saw the Star Fox, this is the Switch 2 Star Fox. Did you see any of this, Johnny? They showed Star Fox for the Switch 2. I wasn't too bothered by what I saw. I felt like it fit within Star Fox's and Switch 2's graphics. Everspace kind of game is what it reminded me of. Like an Everspace.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
It still looks old, obviously, right? It's not a...
Yeah.
But I think that looks definitely enjoyable. Like something you could pick up and play, even if you're not a retro fan.
Right. Let's see. Trying to look through these. These are a lot of technical questions. My God, you guys with the technical questions. Oh, this is a good one. It feels like games are either tiny indies or billion-dollar blockbusters now. Did the middle class of gaming basically disappear? It can feel like that, but no. No, not only have they not disappeared, every single genre of every single level has increased by about 1 billion. I mean, the amount of releases in all genres is just up. It's up. They're all up. And I think our ability to talk about them and understand each and every one of them has dropped to zero. It's just impossible. There's too many. It is legitimately now impossible to talk about all the games and to sort of identify which ones are big. But no, you've got Gothic coming out, which has got some pretty good heat behind it. It's you've got the new Plague Tale coming out. That'll be your middle. Even though technically you could say it's AAA for the amount of money they might have behind them with Microsoft, it's still your AA. That's the other problem too. Same thing with indies, where they're like, yeah, we don't have any money. And then you find out they've got 50 people working for them. It's like, okay, what's an indie? And self-publishing.
Yeah, we're an indie team, but then we have 100 QA people behind us, or like big production company.
Yeah, and the especially the way publishing works, where you have digital publishers, it's very easy to not be an indie if we go the old style of defining indie, which means publish by yourself. If you just want to go with a company that handles the digital publishing, suddenly you're not an indie, and it's like, I don't know if that makes sense. I think the indie AA, AAA is so gone now that it's just not a thing anymore. And it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It really is a social signal. It's not really. It's something that, interns at a Google do, where they try to find out who knows about the rock band they're talking about. And if no one knows, that's the coolest rock band. They're on their bouncy balls, drinking their fucking sippy tea, and they try to figure out. They're like, have you ever heard of the Bloody Murder Dolls? And somebody's like, no, I've never heard of that. And they're like, they're the best band ever. That's the way it used to be. And that was a big deal to people. It was like, well, I like this indie. They're not indie enough for me because 2 people like them. Now I like somebody else. That's gone. And it's gone. I mean, honestly, I guess it's just me, but honestly, I thank God it is. I thank God it is, because I feel like gamers weren't, defining things by like this and that is pretty crazy. It's there's so many ways to be led astray by that. And
very much so.
Yeah.
We would almost measure it like a finger to the wind kind of thing. Like, wow, this looks AA.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much money is behind it or how big the organization, it would just be like Hellblade looks AA, you know, or maybe like high AA.
Yeah. And then two people in the same room, what's high AA to one person means something completely different to somebody else.
Right. Yeah, we need better definitions.
Yeah. Or as I'm saying, I think the definition is baked into the price. It's that, is this...
Maybe that's it, right? Is it a full price game?
Is it a full price? I mean...
Because to us,
I think we've stuck at 60 for so long that it's a really good baseline. 60 is a really good baseline because we've stuck at it forever. For so long, that's been the price. So it's like now we have that as a baseline. Most people know it's $60 is $60 is $60 to people. And and you can identify that. Once you start getting into the social signal shit, you start getting into like fake stories, and you get into all the shit the Game Awards had where they were claiming people were indies and the devs themselves had to correct them. And you're like, this is a mess. It's a legitimate mess, and it makes reporting look really bad. So instead of blaming the reporters or whatever, I think you can look at the problem and go, here's why they said that, because it doesn't make sense. It's like if the best of the best, but you know what I mean? If the people with contacts, if the people who should know better can't even identify or delineate or figure in some way how to detail out this categorization, we shouldn't have it.
Yeah. That's how muddy it is.
That's how muddy it is. Let's see. Sony telling people to upgrade for GTA 6 kind of rubbed me the wrong way because consoles used to get cheaper over time, not more expensive. At what point does console gaming just become a luxury hobby? I think you asked that last time, and I think we answered last time. I think that might got pulled in again. Oh, here's a question.
Yeah, I think we did.
I think we did, yeah. I've canceled like 4 gaming subscriptions this year alone. Are publishers underestimating how exhausted people are from managing ecosystems instead of just buying games? Oh, he's in MMOs. He's talking about MMOs as well. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. I think what's happening is multiple avenues digitally are all subscriptions: music, movies, games. So if movies and music were not digital and not subscriptions, it wouldn't be an issue. But I think that because we now are balancing, and by the way, I think you can see the writing on the wall. Discord added Game Pass Basic to the Discord service. So now when you have Discord Basic, you get a little bit of Game Pass. Makes sense. They're trying to, figure out ways to get everything in and defined as one. I think that technically there's just a lot. It's and yeah, you could say we're tired. We are, but we've always been tired because I lived through the tired of my cable company. We're tired of this internet company. We're tired of, if it's like, it's not new. It's not new. I think the level of choice is new, though. The amount of choices, analysis paralysis kind of thing.
And it's not just gaming. It's because subscriptions are everywhere for all different entertainment types, right? So you got like 3 or 4 for your like shows or movies, and then you got other stuff for food or health, and then you got subscriptions here and there. I think it's also a bit of that fatigue, like hard to keep track of everything.
I mean, dude, it is crazy when you think about their sock subscriptions. There's a beanie subscription. There's
oh my God,
headphone subscriptions. There's food subscriptions. There's health subscriptions. There's mental health subscriptions. Here's
this green juice you need in your life.
Yeah, here's fucking Huel because you don't know how to make your own fucking breakfast, you lazy fuck subscriptions. There's all these subscriptions.
That's going to be the new ad.
Oh, dude, I fucking hate. There's, what is it, Vessi? There's like the piece of shit Vessi shoes selling off their soul to get people to fucking pretend they're the best things ever. I hate this shit. But with choice and tiredness of choice comes the positive is the choice. The positive is you do have the choice.
Yep.
You also have the choice to cancel, move to somebody else, or cancel and
at
get
any
another
time.
one later.
Cancel.
At any time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they don't let you cancel, they're like Sony where they make that shit hard, hammer the fuck out of them. Because as easy as they make it to cancel, you should make it pretty easy to, if you make it, as easy as it is to subscribe, if they make it easy to cancel, I have a much higher chance of resubscribing later. If there is a website that makes it difficult to unsubscribe from them, you can bet your sweet ass I'll remember that for 6 fucking years. That'll be
100%.
Dude, it'll be written down somewhere. It'll be like, gave me shit for unsubscribing, or
blacklist.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I hate that. And now a lot of companies, they might have it in a clickable place in a different place, whatever. I'm not talking about that, but
and they always go like, oh, what about, if we do 75%?
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. And you can do that too. I've noticed some companies are not doing that. They're like, thank you, bye. And I'm for that too. I think that
I respect those.
I respect those.
Yeah. They're just like, hope to see you, in the future.
See ya. Yeah. Wouldn't want to be ya. SBZ says, greetings. Has anyone here played Mixtape? I didn't get a chance.
No, not really. It's been great reception. Yeah. So definitely interested, but
yeah. Hate places that make it easy to subscribe, but so complicated to unsubscribe. Yeah. I think Carrick would do a good review of Mixtape. He will know if it's authentic 90s. I mean, dude, what's authentic? I mean, like, Life is Strange isn't authentic. They're dropping hella and shit for time frames, which wasn't realistic. So, yeah.
If they play Zombie by Cranberries.
Oh, yeah.
It's authentic.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's the 90s right there.
Dude, yeah. Go back to the early 90s with Right Said Fred, I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Do you have a big memory from the 90s? It could be like a movie that marked that time, or like
music's going to be mine. Music, yeah. I mean, all that kind of stuff is definitely. But I can feel nostalgia for 5 years ago. Very nostalgic. I can feel nostalgic for my youth. I can feel, as long as the game, whatever it is, has some music or whatever, it doesn't need to
be your time frame.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, or a specific one, because to me nostalgia isn't a certain section. I think there's a school nostalgia people sort of get mixed up with. That has to be so my school nostalgia would be a particular number of years. Unfortunately, it would overlap 2 decades. So then you get 80s, 90s, 2000s. If you have somebody who graduates in 2001, how do you ask them about nostalgia? Is it for 2000s or is it for the 1990s end of? Where's your nostalgia? What do you need me to hit for this to be considered nostalgia? So overall, I think I like those kind of games. I like the kind of games that are like, here was a time which did feel different. I mean, I can distinctly tell you it felt different, whether it be going out and playing without worrying about every white van picking you up and taking you to, the child slavery factory or whatever that we worry about now. With all of those things to worry about, you'd just be told, come back when the street lights turn on, that kind of stuff. A lot of that kind of stuff will make me feel nostalgic if they have it in the game,
Yeah.
I feel very nostalgic. And, again, in inner cities, and I don't mean like urban inner cities, the other word for black that people use. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about any inner city. You'll get times where kids definitely are still on their bikes and stuff, but it's less so now rural. It used to be a big deal where I was living, where you would just get on your bike and you would go down a road with no sidewalk. There's no sidewalk.
Wow.
You were in the court. You were just told to bike on the edge, and there was no reflectors. There was no lights. Your mom and dad would be like right on the edge. And you'd be like, well, the edge is the edge. This is like a cliff in Forza. If I go off the edge, I'm dying. And they'd be like, okay, see ya. Do your thing. And
the 2 other siblings that didn't respect the edge didn't live to tell the tale.
Didn't live to tell the tale. People be like, do you have brothers and sisters? You're like, I had them, but, it was rural Oregon. They're like, oh, yeah. I hear you. 50% mortality rate on those kids. Fucking losing that shit. But nostalgia like that, I think, hits Yeah, it hits for me. It just all depends. And I can have nostalgia for when I met you. That nostalgia would hit just as hard as a nostalgia when I graduated. It just depends on what they were trying to hit. So like, I get nostalgic whenever a game says or a movie says this happened in 2010. It's like, dude, that was 16 fucking years ago. That's like, how long do we think how many years? That's a good question. How many years do we think is needed in the past for a thing to be considered nostalgic?
Nostalgia. Yeah. I think it has to do with it being around the time of your upbringing.
You think so?
Because the stuff that happens in your teens, I think, sticks with you a lot. Even like a lot of the music that I used to listen back then, I still vibe with, you know. It's changed, of course, but I do feel those are formative years. And things like movies you watched as a teenager stick with you a lot. Like, for example, American Pie was something I grew up with. And like those songs that played in those movies were like a huge part of like me growing up. I still remember a lot of that stuff. It's still kind of like a big part of who I am, weirdly. So I think it has to do with that. Like, you're growing up, you play that first big RPG you fall in love with. Like for me, it was Final Fantasy VII. Fall in love with the music, and then you kind of spend really the rest of your life, listening back to that and kind of connecting back with it every now and then. I think that's kind of where it comes from.
See, and for me, it's definitely not school. It would be my 20s. Because of the job and that I wasn't going to school all the time, meaning 8 hours of my day, the nostalgia would just be sitting in class. So an entire block of my nostalgia would be, what's it like to sit at a desk and not move? Pretty shitty.
Yeah.
But when I was single or not single, sorry, when I was living alone, when I was paying my own rent and all that stuff, and the weekends are yours, the weekdays are yours, everything's paid for, purchased by you, I have better or more nostalgic feelings for the 20s to 30 than I do from 10 to 20. But I do get what you're saying. I guess that's exactly what I'm saying, is that the nostalgia is very hard to hit because usually most games either go for a timeline, the 2000s, this game is set in the 2000s, they don't worry about it, or this game is a high school game, which is a whole different thing. Because high school is an ecosystem. High school is the hilt of a dagger. The blade is the rest of the world, and that's what most people see. But the real built stuff is in that blade and in that handle and your school formative years. There's so much stuff that's hidden there by everything else. So when you do a school game and the nostalgia for a school game, it can feel like a vastly different world than it does if you're just saying, what's the world look like in the 80s? For the people in business, cocaine, hookers, limousines, that like the over-the-top, excess, fucking giant hair. What's it look like for kids in school? Drastically different. So there's some parallels, big hair, certain music, but there's a big difference there. Most kids in the 80s didn't have enough money for cocaine in high school. I would assume that was before my time, but like you get this thing. So yeah, it's interesting. I would say nostalgia for me is anything prior to about 5 years ago. I can feel nostalgic for. Anything prior to that, I have better memories for. So I'm like, oh, it doesn't bring up that.
The more I'm thinking about it, I think I was wrong. It's not linked with the upbringing necessarily. I think it's really isolated things that you ended up cherishing that stand out. And it's funny because you were talking about the school stuff. I had a bad time in school.
That's
was
exactly
kind of bad
what
time.
My point was some people it wouldn't be nostalgic at all. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, it wasn't nostalgic. But then other stuff that I did outside of that, I can see myself nostalgic for.
Yeah.
But similarly, like you mentioned the 20s, I think back, early 20s, I move into the first flat of my own. I'm living by myself. We start the podcast because you mentioned that period as well. That's nostalgic too. I'm thinking back like, wow, what a huge moment. Like I got my own place. Things are going well. I'm meeting, cool people. We're kind of like connecting the podcast and stuff. Huge moments. So I really think it's these isolated things. And you never know what's going to click with the nostalgia. as well.
I think there's a bonus to when you're not working and your mom and dad are paying for stuff. If you're lucky enough to have a mom and dad who are able to make ends meet and they're taking care of the bills. And so you have a little bit easier time, identifying special moments as a kid. But a lot of people didn't have that. I was pretty shocked when I started talking to my friends, because we don't talk about, if you are at school by yourself and didn't go to school with somebody else, it's weird to talk about your school stuff unless somebody asks you. So when I met my friends that weren't in school, we wouldn't talk about our old school days, other than if somebody says, what did you do in school? You didn't talk about it because it's just you telling a story. Nobody knows if it's real, so there wouldn't be a reason. But I do have a lot of stories with the people outside of school that I met, and those shared stories are nostalgic, for sure.
Yeah.
There's something there where it's like we share, and it's always cool to have that buddy who was there, even if you have different ideas about what happened because, something was 20 years ago, or they, whatever. But that kind of stuff is always cool. I think the same thing happens with games where, dude, rose-tinted DLSS will make a game look way better than it looked.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, I was playing an older game going, God damn, man. My DLSS brain was like, that game did not look like that. Wow, that game is, holy shit, that game looked like bad, which I think is fun. No, I don't think it's ruining a memory, man. I think it's actually, because I've had friends who are like, I don't know if I want to play this old game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if you don't want to play it because it won't play well, rightfully so, because it probably won't. 2 controllers or two buttons on a digital pad. Come on, man. That's not going to feel the greatest. That's some ancient ass control schemes. But
yeah.
But I think it's good to remind yourself that things weren't always the best back in the day, man. The brain, to keep you from screaming too much, your brain removes the sharp edges of everything. A couple months ago, I revisited a memory out of the blue while I was feeding the dogs, and I remembered something I had not remembered, and it twisted my entire memory that I had. And I know that the new thing that I remembered was real. And I was like, I have been whitewashing this out. This thing that happened, I had removed this edge, and it somehow, some protein in my brain was like, hey, what's this over here? Boo! And it touched it, and it was like, and it lit up, and my memory, the entire memory flipped. And I was like, oh, damn, I've actually made decisions based on this memory. Not a bunch, but a couple based on this wrong memory where, and I knew it was real. When it popped up, I was like, that is what happened. Oh my God. And I've really sort of rejiggered this to make it something else. Old memory, but still it's awesome to see that those are still in there somewhere. There's some part of your brain, there's some single cell of your brain that remembers. And it's like, remember that time your mom caught you masturbating? And it's there. And your brain will be like, nope, I don't. But at some point, you're going to be feeding the dogs. You're going to be doing something. And your brain's going to run an electrical signal through that. And you'll be like,
God damn it.
Dude, I've had times where I'll remember something stupid I did. And I'll be driving and be like, oh. Like physically go, oh, dude, that was so cringy, man. What? Come on. I'll be like, dude, it was 40 years ago. What am I doing?
Like that time, a girl I had a crush on at work said, enjoy your coffee. And I said, you too. She didn't have a coffee.
Yeah. Bro,
yeah.
I would give you $1,000 to switch some of the shit I did if that was as lame as what you just said.
Okay, that's pretty mild.
That's mild. That we're talking fuck, man. I would give good money to switch that. Yeah. Switch that. What else do we got for news? Let's see here. There was other than the big games, we got UFC 6 deep dive. They showed a deep dive for UFC 6, which I think comes out next month, right? Yeah. Lego Drive is shutting down. That was their racing game. It shuts down in 2027. Don't know how popular that was. I know I liked what I played of that. I don't know how popular that was though. Windrose sold 2 million, a game I know nothing about. We were laughing about that in chat this morning. I was just like, I have no clue what that's even, what that's even about. Ski with Robin Bree. What's up, Ski? I remember your name. Do you got, because I think we were joking about if you had your own YouTube channel. Ski with Robin Bree is asking a question. $20 super chat. Do you guys believe
great name right
there is such a thing as an objective game review, and should reviewers even try to be objective? P.S. Enjoyed the Forza review, appreciated the insight. No. Every single thing in the world is subjective. There is no such thing as an objective game review. I don't think there's such. I think an objective game review is quite literally the object. Not the objective game review, but the object of a review would be to offer as much context on why you felt subjectively the way you felt. So you explain exactly why you felt a certain way. And if you did that, you've done your part. If you did that, you're good to go. Like that's all you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. So you're inserting objective elements, which are like the facts you're stating about the game. You know, like systems, how stuff works. And then you say how that made you feel, or like how that led to your experience. But your channel is an opinion channel, right? I think that's fair to say about any, even like IGN.
Do you know we wouldn't be if it was a benchmark channel? There's a huge difference between a benchmark and a review channel. If I'm, this happens when I was talking to Gamer Nexus. I haven't talked to him in a while, but when I used to on Twitter sometimes, it'd be like there's a big difference between a review channel and a benchmark channel. A benchmark, if you have a benchmark, you do 0 to 60 in your car. If you have a review, you say, how does 0 to 60 feel in the car? That's a massive difference. Those are two completely different things when you think about it. Because I can get from 0 to 60 and be as uncomfortable as fucking hell. And because the seat's uncomfortable, the way it feels, it's lurchy. It fucking feels uncomfortable. It doesn't have a smooth acceleration, blah, blah, blah. That'll be in your review part. Your benchmark part, 0 to 60, 2.7 seconds. Okay, that's benchmark.
And then based on that, they can make a dispassionate recommendation or not, right, of the product. So it's much more cut and dry.
Yeah. I do think that your big question, or the big question, should be, should you label it a review? Because I think a lot of people get away by saying that it's a review, and they're not even putting objective parts in the review. It's all like it's not. It's so.
I mean, one big thing
is subjective that there isn't a way, unless you absolutely are that reviewer. So what I do is I will also say, is it a good genre representation? If it is not, why? If it is, why? And I think that what happens a lot of times is people are basically using the review name or nomenclature as a way to get away with just doing an opinion piece that is fully opinion. And the only way you're going to feel what they felt is if your opinion is identical in every single element to the way theirs feels. And they'll get away with it by at the end saying, but it's just a review or whatever, which is true. But you start to look at what they're saying. You're like, dude, unless I'm this person, I'm not going to feel, because maybe that person is really bothered by one thing in the game that's colored everything. They're not looking at it as like a game anymore. It's like an experience, which games can be an experience, but they are also games, and they're also purchased. And there's, you know it when you hear it. I think when you hear it, you'll be like, I have to be directly aligned with this person. Otherwise, I'm just really listening to this person's live journal that's dated this day. This morning I woke up and had eggs. That's what those become.
I think it's really hard to be at all objective if you haven't played enough of the game. I just see it a lot in these reviews, even in big sites where you can tell the person played, 30% of the game or something.
Yeah.
And they made their opinion based on that. And that's a problem. It's very hard for you to give a solid opinion on the overall product.
I think they're both in a weird way the same. The small amount played, or the small amount that impacted them so much that's carried forward. They're both that 30%.
Yeah.
So it's
like surface level.
I don't think it's too hard to offer context, though. There'll be times where I'll certainly fuck it up. Absolutely. But overall, I think it's pretty, it shouldn't be too hard to be like, why did I like it? Here's why. Here's what's fun. here's what's not fun. And if it's not fun, why does a thing that is normally fun in this game, why is it not fun? Like, if Forza's exploration was not fun, it would be my job not to say it's not fun. It would be my job to say why a particular thing that is normally fun is not in this game. Why is it not enjoyable? Stops, like the boulders I was talking about, that can make things not enjoyable. If you bring those up enough, then somebody, forewarning, somebody can go and go, okay, I got you. I see what the issue is. That makes sense, and we'll move on from there. But yeah, I think also there's no rules. But I do think the name, I mean, lately there's only a couple I watch, and most of them don't even label their, I guess, reviews anymore, and rightfully so. There's one or two, like I watch Writing on Games for sure, and a couple others, and I'm glad they don't name them reviews, because they're really not. There's something else. It's an exploration of the game and the way the game made them feel at that particular time. And you can glean some good data from those. Reviews are not as easy as people think, but it's just one of those things that people like to assume is super easy.
Dude, reviews are hard. I have tried my hand at reviews. They are a hard process.
You got to be really, whether confidence or ego, whichever one. I'll call it both, 50% ego, 50% confidence, but you have to be like, I'm super confident. But I'm super confident in my feeling of being ripped off. So like, I've never once looked at a game and been like, I need to re-review this. It's never happened.
It all makes sense in your head, right?
Bro,
it's like,
if it did, I would feel so stupid. I'd be like, I played this game for 60 hours and I couldn't figure out what my own score was. What is wrong with me? Like, I need to stop. And I'm never resetting a review score. That would be ridiculous unless a patch comes, like has happened with
changes the
Elden
game.
Ring. Yeah, but dude, you play a game enough, I know what I feel. That $60 that was burning a hole in my pocket. Either that $60 doesn't burn anymore, and then it's just all gravy, or I'm like, I want my $60 back to a certain point. Where I'm like, I want 30 of it back. I want 75% of it back. I want that all back, and I want you to pay me for having wasted my fucking time on this game, that you shouldn't have been released. So, yeah.
But if you, like, when you're playing a game, something interesting happens, right? Like in the first 5 hours, are you going to remember that by the time you review? Or like, do you take notes as you go to kind of keep track of some of those moments? Or does it just stick with you that much?
I feel that if something's... Well, I'll definitely take notes of a system or something that exists, but if it doesn't stick with me, is it worth talking about?
In the grand scheme,
I have a good memory. So, and that's never been a complaint on my reviews where somebody's like, oh...
If something is annoying enough, you will remember it.
And if something's good enough, I'll get complaints that I was too happy about something. And I'll be like, hey, that's a complaint I can deal with. But yeah, I mean... If something sticks with you, if it's emotionally resonant with you, unless it's a live journal, you'll never cover everything. Live journal would be 1 minute in, I did this, 2 minutes in, I did this, 3 minutes in, I did this, which I swear to God, that is what it feels like some people are doing, and then like using GPT to truncate it into a summary. Sometimes when you read stuff, you're like, this doesn't feel like I can't really understand what this is trying to say. It's just more like, I did this, then I went here, then I did this, then I went here, here's the game. And my score. And you're like, but I don't understand how you got to that score. I understand what you did. But yeah, dude, I mean, if something sticks with you, it sticks with you. Red Dead 2 starting stuck with me enough for me to bitch about it. But something else may not have stuck with me. And that's, as long as you offer context on why it stuck with you or why it didn't, that's good. And why it didn't, people will think you can't offer context. You can. So like, you may not have to say why something you hated didn't stick with you or why something that was just mediocre didn't stick with you. What you can do is, as you're talking about the cohesive, if you don't really mention it much, in a way, that is a way of saying this didn't really, you might list 15 modes in a battle royale game and you say it's also got this and this. And just by saying it's also got this and this, but let me focus on this, that usually indicates those other ones weren't focus worthy. They they weren't focus worthy. It was like, okay, that for Jeremy, this particular thing isn't, and you can certainly ask more questions, but at some point you have to be like, there's a reason why. The reason why is because if he's saying all these are fun and said, but there's also some of these other things, then you have to come to the opinion that didn't grab me. It didn't, it just didn't. I mean, and it happens with any game. Because there's so many little minutia to cover. I mean, you do have to. Otherwise, every review is going to be 30 minutes, and I think that's, dude. If it takes me 30 minutes to say, I mean, it's happened, but 30 minutes for a review is like, dude, okay, that's a long time. That's a long time. I couldn't edit that.
At that point, you're like you said, you're transcribing.
Yeah. Crimson Desert must be one of the toughest games to review. What's been your toughest review to make? Crimson Desert was easy. Crimson Desert was cake. What was a hard Dragon Age?
Well, how's it?
The Dungeons and Dragons game that I played a couple years ago that was like a hack and slash game that didn't do well. That was a rough one because even though it was goofy and funny, it just wasn't great. It wasn't very fun. Dungeons and Dragons, it wasn't Dark Alliance because that's the older one. But anyway, it was a Dungeons and Dragons game. And I can't remember it, which goes to show why. And that game it wasn't very fun to review. It wasn't very fun. And it wasn't even fun to tease. It was just sort of like.
But I can't let that slide. How is Crimson Desert easy when it's like, it's a long game. It's got some weird ass puzzles that maybe you had to spend a lot of time on. Like it's kind of clunky in some places. Like, didn't you have a lot of friction putting that together for a review?
I don't consider friction hard. Hard to me means like, dude, it's a game review. Like, so yeah. Difficulty of a puzzle is difficulty of the puzzle, but it's not difficulty of the review. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you could explain the game easily enough.
And I could explain the difficulty of the puzzle. And that's contained within the game, but it's not making the review difficult. To me, why would it be difficult? By the very fact of a hard puzzle in a game, it makes the review easier because now I have an example of a hard puzzle in the game to talk about in the review. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you run into a problem or friction in the game, that helps you with your review because it's data for the review. So there's nothing difficult about the review. There's been 2 games that have been time sensitive where like I was like, ooh, I'm crunched for time. Other than that, no, it's been easy. They're not easy in the fact of coming to my thoughts have been easy because I'm fairly confident that I feel either burned or not. I mean, dude, I do. When I get done with a review, I usually give myself 6 to 8 hours where I'll just do other shit and I won't even think about the game, but I can tell I am. Something will pop in. I'll be like, that bothered me.
Your brain is just indexing everything.
Dude, it's like, it's just back there and it's moving slots.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I'm just like, pretend I'm talking to you guys. And I'm like, sup, everybody, this is Carrick with ACG once again. And then it works. And it's not hard. I mean, hard is the technical stuff. Like I had a ton of technical issues with Forza. Jesus. I thought I was out of that game of having all these technical issues. And I had a ton of technical issues trying to get footage. There was issues with recording software. There was all kinds of issues. There was not a single problem saying what I thought about that game. Ever. It just flowed. It was like, dude, boom, boom. Mud Goblin. I was like, the moment I was driving and some piece of shit in the mud hit me, I legitimately out loud said, you fucking Mud Goblin. And I'm like, well, that's going in the review. Because I don't even know what a Mud Goblin is. But I'm like, it's going in there. Sluicing through earth juice is one of the first things I said in the review. And I'm like, that's exactly what you're doing. You're going through mud. It's earth juice. That's what we used to call mud when I was a kid. It was like, it all makes sense. I'll just say this out loud in the review. That's easy. But the tech stuff is fucking sucks, man. The tech stuff it's ridiculous. It's like cry-worthy if I was a crier. There'll be times where you are so in the mix and you're so set up and the world stymies you where you feel like somebody hates you as a person. Because you'll be like, I am ready to be creative, and something breaks. I told you, the quad or the Roland lit on fire.
Yep.
Out of the blue. just a electrical short, completely
for real, man.
No, that's exactly what I did. Audacity. It was audacity I felt towards that device. I was like, "Are you fucking seriously? Right now you're gonna do that?
Really?
Been non-doing reviews for 6 weeks, been using it daily, and today you're gonna fucking spark up and have a little bit of a fire out of all this." And so it took me like 3 hours to find wires for the old one.
Yeah.
So,
man,
I thought the amount of content would make it challenging to review. No. I mean, dude, so like, unless you mine sweep a game, no one's ever going to 100%. You could do 100% on achievements, but that means nothing. You could do 100% in the game achievements, but that means nothing because it doesn't mean you'll see everything. And even a dev will tell you everything. I mean, we've had people 100%, like, let's say a Baldur's Gate, but they haven't seen everything in a Baldur's Gate because the achievements aren't tracking every single thing. They're tracking whatever. If you have 100 achievements, you're only tracking 100 things. There's probably a billion variations. So, yeah, no, it hasn't been an issue. Yeah, they're easy. They're easy in that effect. They're very stressful in other ways. But in saying what I want to say, very easy. Yeah.
Quick last question. The peek behind the curtain. Has your process changed in how you prepare for the review? Is it like creating an outline or maybe like some notes you can look at so you don't miss something? Or has that just gone towards complete freeform over time? Like, which direction has it evolved in?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I would say nothing's changed. And you could say it's a negative if you want, but I don't think games have changed too much, at least not enough that the review stuff has to change. You do have to track stuff. You got to make sure you track stuff and that you want to talk about it. But
so like some key stuff you want to hit, I guess.
Some key stuff
you're tracking.
Yeah. And you want to hit why. And dude, I trust my emotion. Like if I get like frustrated with something, but I also have a pretty high level of tolerance because I am a reviewer for the general games out there. I'm not like a Dark Souls guy who just does Dark Souls. So therefore a parry has to be within this I'm like, dude, we can talk about that because I can play that. I could sit right beside somebody and play those kind of games too. But when it comes to like the overall review thing, I'll make notes, but the notes are really generic. For example, in Forza, a note could say bumper. So if somebody sees,
and that to you means
to me that means a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Remember, there are times where you've said something, I'm like, I'm mad again, and that happened 5 years ago. That's bumper. So any of those words that I have written somewhere or just in my head when I'm talking about the game, I'll be like decal, fuck, and then or I'll be like a window, oh yeah, and it just
got a whole
opens
thing
up
on that.
a whole thing. Yeah.
So,
but that was my job prior to this too. So it's not like the big difficulty is time getting code, workable games without
logistics
crashes
around.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like the week before last was horrendous. I mean, because there were 3 games I was supposed to review and every game stymied.
Yeah,
every
with the
single game
cursed
fucked me up.
Saves and everything.
Yeah, the cursed saves and all that. And that was hard. It wasn't the review that was hard. It was getting everything set up. It was quite difficult. And I'm not big enough. I mean, I am big enough, I guess. I guess I could email and say, like, I want to code for a different platform or whatever. But I was like,
sure.
At that point, I always feel weird because I'm also like, dude, if I'm asking you for another code because my platform doesn't work, I should probably review the game on that platform and say, this game fucking doesn't work. I don't really feel like that's a thing. If I can get through a game and it's got to crash later on, I'll probably review the game and just be like, dude, don't get it because this thing has a fucking major crash in it. But like for Replaced, it was within the first half an hour. And I knew that they were going to fix it. I was like, there's no way that's not going to get fixed. So I just kept crunching on it for too long and got screwed over. And then Cosmic Abyss fucked up the saves horribly.
Yeah.
Man, that sucked. Dude, Cosmic Abyss is a legit enjoyable game. To corrupt your saves like that it's a master stroke and a diabolical way to make me hate you. Because nothing.
Because you were invested, right?
I mean,
at that point, like you played a ton of it. You had a lot to say about it. You're kind of putting together the whole process, and then boom, you can't finish it.
And if you look at the reviews, it certainly seems like the majority of reviews are about those kind of bugs, and that is hell. That is hell. I'm sure it's hell on the devs too. I'm sure they had no desire, but it's.
Did you think about reviewing it at that point and just saying, "Listen, I played like this much, and I couldn't continue playing because it broke on me."
I did, but I didn't know how far I was in, and I feel like even now that more time has passed, I feel like I wasn't far enough in. Other than it would be a really weird review. It would basically be, hey, I got halfway through and I loved all of it.
This could happen to you, but it
probably
crashed,
not. And now I can't tell you about what comes after. Buy it or don't buy it. The best bet is to do the podcast and be like, here's what happened. Because a review, I feel you have to it's either broken completely and you know it is, like a mind's eye or something. Or you get to the end. And then you can do your review. Yeah,
that's fair. Because like you're also want all of your reviews to stand to that.
I do.
Standard, right?
Yeah. I never want to look back on a review and say, "Oh, there's a caveat here." If I can actually, and also I want to be able to compare one review today to something 6 years ago. And you should be able to do the same on a stream where you look at a stream and you're like, "Okay, here's my stream now. Here's my stream 6 years ago. What are the metrics? What's the comparison?" If you have a bunch of dilly-dally and bullshit where you've changed the way you do things a ton of times, it's going to be impossible. It's why anybody who changes the review score has a diabolical time, because it's just like you're changing the entire facet and way. It's why a lot of people who will change companies too will change their review score. You realize it's not changing. It'll change the words. They'll have like 1 to 4, and then they'll have 4 words. They'll be like, "We're going to a worded score," and you're like, "So 1 to 4." There's some idiosyncrasies there for sure. But what else do we got for game news? The worst game for me was over 120 hours Baldur's Gate 3, and the ending was broken. Oh, damn.
Yeah, that third act was very buggy.
Was it? Oh God. Yes, yeah. Sorry. No, I take that back. The third act was... And I got hell. I got hell in the review for mentioning that. And I was like, listen... FPS starts to drop to dog shit. There's all kinds of issues, and people are like, you just don't like Baldur's Gate. No other reviewers mention this, and I'm like, did they get to Act 3? Just saying, because if they did, some of the people you should probably verify that, because Act 3 is noticeable to everybody even today, let alone back then. They've done some fixes though. They've tried to shore Baldur's Gate 3 up, and I think they've done a pretty good job. But yeah, it could be a rough time.
In other news, by the way, Amazon canceled the Lord of the Rings MMO. They did say they're still exploring, a future game possibility there, but
Lord of the Rings is tough.
Tough,
man. I mean, you got fake Aragorn running around, or you got this other time frame nobody knows about because nobody wants to open the Silmarillion or whatever and read this other bullshit that jackass wrote. So it's just hard, man. It's hard to do. And the world is cool.
Yeah.
But it's definitely difficult to... It's a closed off world. And the heroes were the major heroes. And Dragonlance has the same exact problem, where the major narrative events happen around these major people. And anybody else is sort of death fodder. They don't feel like they can be heroes in and amongst the rest.
And you wouldn't want to recreate the exact movies.
No, you don't want to recreate,
or books.
Yeah.
Unless you have the real people. Because, if you're going to have bootleg Legolas and Aragorn with the same story, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Legolas and Baragorn, bootleg.
Yeah.
They're pirated versions that are running de novo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always difficult to do Lord of the Rings, man. It's got to be one of the hardest IPs to take on as a game maker. All respect to them, but I wouldn't want to even think about trying to make a Lord of the Rings game. Wouldn't even know where to go. There's been a good MMO. That one MMO they did was actually, I think it's still going. I also think that maybe we're at the time when we just maybe an MMO isn't really the future of games the way we think it is. I think cost-wise right now, we're in some dire straits for how much these MMOs cost to make. and how we go about, delivering them to people. I think an MMO, I don't know if you saw this, but the writer for Exodus, or one of the major creators for Exodus, left. Exodus is the sci-fi game with the time travel, like the light speed. He left. He had worked for the doctors at BioWare, and he had stated that it's just really hard to make a game. He was like, this is disastrous. It was uncomfortable. He hated pretty much every meeting he went to. It's like the amount of burnout in a normal game is high, let alone in a Lord of the Rings or something working with Amazon, trying to get Amazon to fucking, figure shit out. Yeah, that's the one I remembered, was the old Lord of the Rings, which I think is pretty... I remember having a pretty good time in the original Lord of the Rings game. Been a long time, but I remember having a genuinely good time. What else do we got?
Tell you who's not having a good time, though. Sony reported that in this quarter, Q4, they sold 46% fewer PS5 units worldwide compared to the prior quarter. 46% less. Surprising?
No. So it's not only that, but they had the best sales. They had a sales peak, and then the forward sales after the sale came up, where they sold the least. I think that, like, right now, console sales, they've jumped up to a point to where the hardware you're getting just isn't worth the return. So right now, I think people are just holding off. Dude, I know a lot of people with PS4s who are just now starting only now to feel the crunch, because a lot of games were still coming on PS4 and are going to PS5s. They're not buying Pros. I think right now it's just a budget conscious world, and everybody's like looking at, like, what do we even... And dude, you may not want to buy one now if in 2 years it's going to be $1,000 for your next one. You may want to save $500 this year and try to eke your way through whatever you can. It's rough, man. It's rough. These consoles are expensive now. The idea of somebody going in to purchase one off on random that's asking a lot. They sold how much less, though?
46%.
Damn, son. Damn. I love the way Carrick includes the sound aspect as well. Many reviewers don't capture. Yeah, I think with sound, that's... I don't know why it is with sound that people don't, but whatever. I mean, I think it's because
it's tough to talk about, man.
And I think some people are really nervous about it because you can't bullshit sound. I mean, even when because I made a mistake one time. I can't remember the game, but I definitely said something that was not right, and I think it was Austin. By the way, he didn't like tweet me or anything. He tweeted and was complaining about something in the game, and I went and looked, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's right." With audio, you could say you like the music, but you just sound like you're bullshitting if you're like it's bombastic. It's like music is definitely... You almost can't talk about music very deeply unless you know some stuff about music, because it's after a while you're gonna be like, this sounds high, and people will be like, high in what way?
Yeah.
So yeah, that one's
music is hard to talk
music's
about.
Hard to talk about
in that way.
Yeah, I think sound effects and music are super important too, because I don't care what anybody says. When I hear a song cranking out in The Last of Us or in Life is Strange, you can't tell me that's not a good part of the game. When Life is Strange starts and you're at the lockers and you walk out and they start playing a song from that time period and it sounds like it's inner earphones, that's a moment. And you should talk about it, because that is audio storytelling. It is telling you a shit ton about the entire way that game is going to feel by just that one song. They chose it for a reason. So glad to see Eternal saying, so glad I got my PS5 Pro last holiday season for $100 off without taxes. That's a very good price. Yeah.
Damn. Not bad.
Yeah. How about sound effects in your PC controller? How about fuck those? I hate that stuff. I hate that. Oh.
Not for me, man.
Not for me, dude. Not for me, man. Yeah, whenever I see that, like, PS5 trying to bullshit me with the sound effects out of the controller, I'm like, turn the fuck off. I don't need to hear that shit. But it can sound like a tinny speaker through your hands. I can do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. I don't want
couple
that shit.
times it's been okay, but I nah.
I'll say that.
I think
Okay,
it's just
I'll meet you halfway.
gimmick.
Across the sky, but sorry. I will meet you halfway and say that there have been times where it hasn't been horrible, but I don't think that that's a
Horizon
reason to put it
did
in
an
your
okay
game.
job with it.
Spider-Man,
for example, like some subtle sound effects were coming through it, like your bow sound effect was okay. Yeah, the twang. Yeah, not sold on it at all.
My PS5 just runs, no complaints. My PS5 Pro, no, sorry, PS5. I'm not getting a fucking Pro for the life of me. Well, I mean, I might.
Nah, me neither.
If this one dies, this will be my third one. But this one on quality, if you hit some games on quality, this one will do that overheating thing because probably liquid metal. I'll probably have to reseat it. Jesus, so tiring with these fucking things. And it's right under my nuts, man. So when you're playing a PS5 game, this thing is just fucking you just hear that thing speeding up. You guys playing Gothic next month? I may. I don't know if I want another. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how I feel. I enjoyed Gothic when I first played it in the 80s. It's not the 80s, but it was years ago. So I don't know. Whenever that game first came out, I did enjoy Gothic, but it was a sign of its times. I don't know how much I want a game that's like, hey, look, another game that's your character's barely holding on to life. You're a farmer. Here's a single moccasin. Now fight off 17 scarecrows with fucking scythes. And you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to be the hero, man. You know, sometimes I don't want the Dark Souls of blah, blah, blah. The Dark Souls of fucking, music games. The Dark Souls of Choose Your Own Adventures. The Dark Souls of, fuck. There was a late model PS4 Pro bundled with RDR2 that was quieter. That's cool. RDR2. SBC says, if you guys talked about Sega's canceled Super Game, any clue? $5 Super Chat. Yeah, so I don't know what the Super Game is, but I will say this. I feel like it's a good cancellation. I was going to call it cancellation a kiss, but it's a good cancellation. And the reason why is because nobody knew what the fuck that they were doing, and nobody remembered. They didn't have any PR for it. It was a service game. It was already starting out bad. And I think Sega and Microsoft, I guess, were the two doing it. I think they looked at it and were like, right now, the industry's changing too fast. We need to figure out what we're aiming at. So we're seeing it with Sony, a couple Sony service games switching. We want the companies to switch, guys, and they're going to have to switch faster than ever. In fact, I think they're going to have to actually hold me to this.
Yeah.
In 1 or 2 years, it would not surprise me if they do not have a division and or person whose only job, and I don't know what this person would be called, but their only job is really going to be pattern matching for figuring out where the consumer is going to be. They used to do it with big groups, and they'd have 6 months to a year to 2 or 3 years to guess the future. I don't think you can guess the future because you have so many games entering the market that the future is changing with every entry. The expectations are changing. Subnautica 2 is going to change the expectations for Subnautica 3 or whatever game comes in. There's too many games. So it's impossible to interject and say 4 years out, this is probably going to be where we are. I think they're going to have people using algorithms, tracking, figuring out how to build up that excitement over a 4-year pattern that you're going to have entire divisions. And it's not going to be your press. It's not going to be your PR. They're not big enough. They are big enough. They press normally handles the end or the middle and influencers. I'm talking about somebody whose job is to look at the world as a technology, almost like a technology CFO. If you guys have ever seen a CFO at a company, technology guy whose job is to sort of like guess which database system, what schema we're going, what the future is going to hold for this company. Are we going to have keys on our phone, or is it going to be just, touch screens? Is it going to blah, blah, blah? Is it going to be fold? Yeah. I think the same thing is existing in consoles. Mark Cerny's not good enough to just do it on Sony's standpoint. They've got other people working with him. Same thing with Jason Reynolds, who works at Xbox, you have to have a team, and everybody's got to have their feelers out and be like, hey, did you guys hear about this? This tech is coming that might do this. Okay, we got to pull that in and see, is this something? It's not even something that you want to build out. It's just something to be aware of. Shit's moving fast, man. Beat Saros, very fun, but now every other game is so slow. Yeah, I love that in a game, though. I love doing well in a game that's fast, like Doom, Dark Ages. Everything is
slow-mo.
Bro,
after that.
I was playing games and just smoking people. I was like, that's what you should do. If you want to go play, whatever game, play like Doom, the Dark Ages right before it, and then go into it and be like, this is cake. This is cake. Although there okay. Could have been another Phantasy Star Online game. Oh, okay. Yeah, true. It could have been. True.
A couple of launch trailers dropped. I don't know if you saw this. One of them, Xenoverse 3, New Dragon Ball.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Terrible trailer. They didn't show anything. So that's fine. But it's coming. And in summer 2026, Sinking City 2.
I know. I wish them all the luck.
That got me a little excited. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I like Cthulhu stuff, or Cthulhu, depending where you're from. I don't want to get my hopes up because that first one was rough. But talk about
I thought it looked good, man.
AA game.
Yeah.
That first one was a AA game. First one was maybe single A minus. That first one, B plus. First one was a B plus. C. It was probably a C. It was a C minus game. No, the first one was rough. I'm excited for 2. Yeah, we'll have to see how they put it together. I like their ideas on how they did investigation and stuff. In the first one, they had some really cool investigation stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of.
And I love the idea of the sinking city. Where,
so do I. Yeah,
moving around through the water and stuff, and losing your sanity just worked really well.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it works out, man.
And it's soon, dude.
Never quite know.
Summer.
Yeah. Well,
I'm excited.
Yeah. Right now it is.
Yeah, summer is a big word. It could be like
it'll be delayed, but yeah.
Tail end, Good. Yeah.
This is a question. Do you guys think the next big trend after GTA 6 is going to be publishers trying to copy Rockstar for 10 years? I do not. I think that is what happened with GTA 5. I don't think so, though. From what I understand and just the limited discourse I've had with a couple devs who work at different companies that have handled big open world games, Sony's, some others, Ubisoft. Honestly, it feels to me as if most of them are looking at that game as its own thing that they are actually actively making sure their own staff don't compare themselves too aggressively to, because of depression issues, of money issues, of it's very difficult. Why would we be able to compare? This is a $1 billion game, or this is a $750 million game. It doesn't make sense that a game turned around in 3 years is going to equal a game turned around in 11 or 10. I don't think so. We don't even know what GTA 6 is going to be, but if GTA 6 is GTA 5 magnified by 10 years, I don't see any other company really even aiming for that, and I wouldn't want to. Let's give you an example. Watch Dogs has had its idiosyncrasies, but they've tried different things. I would love to see a new Watch Dogs try something else. I would love to see a new Saints Row, even though I didn't like the last one at all. I would not want to see Saints Row try to copy GTA, because it would spread them threadbare. You'd see right through the gaps in the fucking in your knit blanket, man. You'd be like, nah, it's not the same thing. We don't have the manpower for this kind of stuff. So I hope not. I think tech-wise, maybe there'll be some tech in there to get it run. But I mean, there's magic and then there's magic. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to. There's a difference between time spent, and that's why this animation looks good, because somebody had the time to, versus like just being able to do something you can't do in another game. I have a feeling GTA 6 won't be as groundbreaking in that aspect. What I mean by that is GTA 5 is already so far, and so is Red Dead, but Red Dead isn't so far compared to Rockstar's last game, which is GTA 5. So I feel like their games they do amazing stuff, but they don't leap as much as the industry doesn't catch up. So I don't know if GTA 6 is going to be like, oh my God, you can do something that we don't expect. I think a lot of it will be expected. In fact, they've talked about no airplanes and stuff. Didn't you and I discuss this like a couple months ago, where there were some stories that like because of the 3D and the ability to fuck up other people's online world, at least online, may not have airplanes or helicopters or something. Didn't we talk about this?
Yeah, we saw something like that.
So we'll have to see. Bring back true crime, Streets of X. That'd be cool. What else do we got? Want to talk about some science?
Yeah. What do you got?
Dude, so yeah, I was bitching about Neil deGrasse Tyson. We were all in chat it was a huge chat. I don't even remember what we were talking about. But somebody asked me, I think it was Dom, was like, what do you think of him? I was like, got my own, love him, obviously, but like sometimes the answers for the new people, blah, blah, all the stuff you and I've discussed. But we sat back and we started talking about him, started rewatching, caught up on a couple Cool Worlds. And he's definitely calmed down a little bit, which was nice. I was surprised about that. Had some really good conversations about exoplanets, some really good conversations about some of the new stuff that's come out with the Hubble tension and all that kind of.
So he was in the Cool Worlds podcast?
No, he had him on there. And then, sorry, did I say Cool Worlds? I meant Star Talk. I caught up with Star Talk.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I also caught up with Cool Worlds, I should say. But caught up with both of them. Yeah. With Star Talk in particular, Neil, he was doing a better job. He was a little less in your face. And there were some really good videos. I actually had a good time. These last ones were actually really good listening to him talk. There wasn't a bunch of new data. There's a lot of questions now about, so it wasn't Sean Carroll, it was the other guy, the Brian Green that I sent you. Where they were talking about quantum entanglement may actually be that it's a wormhole at each entangled point, and so it thinks it's next instead of thinking it's farther away to it.
Yeah.
It's right next to it, which I thought was it's not a hand wavy. It is sort of hand wavy, but it's not hand wavy. But it was I sort of liked that explanation of that, because of this thing that's occurring and how they pop in and out of existence. It's like, well, if they do pop in and out of existence and it's impossible to track one to the other, maybe that's where they pop out. They almost like a mushroom goes, sinking for some reason back into the ground, but it's still there.
Yeah, that's right.
And then when it moves farther, you're like, oh, how are these entangled? I thought that was pretty cool.
The weird part with that is that we know that you can't use that fact of like two particles being entangled to transport information faster than the speed of light.
Right.
There's actually like a theorem or something, like a demonstration of this, that you can't do this, which I thought was a bummer, right? I always thought, dude, that's the hack, You use the entangled particles that may be very far away to like transmit information, and boom, that's how we get Netflix on Mars. Big leap there.
Yeah.
But it turns out you can't do that. So if you had the wormhole connecting those two, then technically you should be able to go faster than the speed of light, because the space is literally like shrunken in between those particles, right? So I don't know how that sits, but yeah, it was interesting to see them try to define what's going on.
Sam K Live says, I was wondering how's your back since last time. I just seemed to struggle with it. Yeah, it was fucked. I don't know what happened, but ended up having a mighty big bill. I have no clue what was going on, but I had a rolling series of muscle cramps in my back, and then it went to my legs and went to my toes until 3:00 the next morning. And I have no clue, but that was debilitating. That might have been worse than the cluster headache just because it lasted for so long, but I have absolutely no clue what happened. But it was
Did you get
bad.
it fixed? Did you figure out what it was?
It went away.
Went away.
Yeah. It was just one of those things where it was like, there was not much other than, there's some drugs they could give you or whatever, like muscle relaxers, probably make you shit yourself. But it was a very odd thing because it was everywhere. It was like my eyelids, my forearms, my arms, my legs, my toes, everything was just having this rolling series of muscle cramps. And it was just really weird. It started in my back and I have no clue and didn't come back. Could have just, I mean, dude, I don't have too many issues. So like, it could have just been like my time to shine. Like, hey buddy, let's throw a couple issues at you. I get away with a lot of stuff without having any problems.
Is it something with your workouts where maybe you pulled your back? Like you did something too
No, dude, it was weird hard? Because prior to me sitting down with you, I felt off. And I fell off the time before, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And no, definitely not a nerve. That was the first thing the doctor checked. And when I sat down, I was like, I feel weird, man. I feel like mentally off a little bit. Like this is an odd day, but we'll do it. And then it just started. And it was weird because it started like nervousness before going to school as a kid. And I was like, well, that's a weird feel. I don't get nervous for anything. I was like, well, I feel weirdly nervous, and realized I wasn't feeling nervous. It was like the beginning of restless leg, where it's almost like your leg needs to twitch, or you need to burp, or you need to hiccup, but you can't, and it's right there, and it just wouldn't go away. So when I got done with you, it was starting to cramp up, and then it just got horrendous, and I just
damn.
There was not much to do other than be in misery. It was definitely horrible.
Just tank it.
Yeah, I have a tendency, if something's horrible, I'll just be like, it was horrible, but it's not now. So it's not horrible anymore. Yeah, but yeah, it was horrible at the time.
That's
I
always
definitely wouldn't want to experience it again. I have no clue what it was, but I was like, I definitely have some things in my house to like possibly, if it pops up again, like or attempts at different things that I might take, I guess. But yeah, dude, I just think it's because I do a bunch of shit and I get away with a bunch of shit without any negative repercussions. And I think that day,
it adds up.
Something was not, some vitamin wasn't taken, or some prayer to a dark, evil God wasn't given at just the right time. And so I had that, and then it went away. I was like, okay, such is life. I'm not somebody to stress that kind of stuff. It was like, I mean, I stressed it when it happened because it hurt like a motherfucker. But like, that was
it's
ridiculous.
One of those things does give you some strong sense of gratitude, right? Once it's gone, like.
Yeah. Dude, my cluster headache, once I had that, I was like, okay, getting shot, getting stabbed was not as bad. Getting a cluster headache was ridiculous. Like, that was like, afterwards, I was like, what the fuck? No wonder. Because I would see a video of somebody having one and banging their head against a wall, and I'd be like, what is that? And then having one, I'm like, oh, I know exactly. Like, holy shit, that is so far beyond a migraine. A migraine is... It's not even on the list. It's not even the top 20 compared to that. It doesn't even make sense how much that hurt. So, like, I get it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get done and you're like, oh, okay, But I'm not somebody who, like, thinks about that kind of stuff over a period of time. It's like, oh, it happened. I'll watch to verify.
Dude, I'm already a pussy for a normal headache.
So am I.
Like I won't be able to enjoy anything if I have a headache.
Me neither. I remember, though, when I had it, my brother left after we worked on the house, and I remember sitting in a chair, and it started, and there's something that happened. I just remember there was something about it where I was like, wow, this feels weird. This doesn't feel like a migraine. This feels like something I've never felt before. And then by the time my wife came home, it was like shrieking. It was, and the video or the Wikipedia picture is a guy stabbing his own eyeball out because demons are tearing it out of his eye.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what's so weird is when the nurse was like, what's your scale on a 1 to 10? And I'm like, I've broken my back. This is a 50. That's a 1. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I was like, whatever is going on,
Holy
I think I'm dying. And the fire alarm was going off because they were testing the fire alarm at the hospital, which was just...
Really?
Dude,
like at this...
I told you, God's hate. I mean, my wife chuckles about it now. She's like, dude, nobody in the world has this app. Yeah, it's the simulation going bad. And I remember, and then they gave me a drug. They gave me, and it was not even super powerful, but whatever they gave me made it go away. And he was just like, we'll do a spinal tap if you want. Could have been a mini stroke or whatever. He's like, that doesn't present as anything like that. And I was like, I'll pass on there's blood patches you have to do right when you do a spinal tap. You can give yourself a spinal tap headache, which is really painful. I've had one. You don't want a spinal tap headache. It's almost as bad as a cluster headache. So I was like, you guys watch me. I'll watch. My blood pressure wasn't even really high. So, but that, yeah.
Yeah, dude, any spinal stuff, if you can avoid it.
If you can avoid it, yeah. Yeah, by the way, I'm not even saying to avoid it because, like, oh, doctors. No, not at all. I'm just saying if it's like an option and yet you don't have any of those things, it's like, unless we need to, because most doctors know how to do blood patches now, which is a
of course
massive improvement. But if you don't know how to do a blood patch, or you get somebody who isn't, I wouldn't want any. I'll just say this: if somebody says, "I'm going to give you a spinal tap, this is our student for the day," I would be like, "This is me leaving." I want the guy who's done 60,000 of these, whose hair is all
the 50-year-old Jew,
dude. Like, I want the guy in there with the thick glasses who, like, waddles in, but he's got the really steady hands. Who's like, I've done 60 of these. He's got a fucking cigarette in his mouth. He's done it 100 times. And he's like, I know exactly. I don't want anybody doing a spinal tap that, like, hasn't been doing those things forever. Because holy shit. And if you do it right, nothing. It's done.
Yeah.
It hurts. I mean, it does. It hurt, but it doesn't hurt. Like, you see movies where, like, somebody will, well, I guess, yeah, it hurts. And kids might cry. It hurts, but it doesn't, like, feel like somebody breaking your back or whatever,
Yeah, no.
But a spinal,
just
if they fuck it up, then it is going to hurt.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just sleeping wrong. Yeah, sometimes I'll get that. Do you take anything for blood pressure, cholesterol? I used to take stuff for blood pressure. My blood pressure is way better than it was. My blood pressure is weird. It'll be super high and then super low. I've had blood pressure issues all my life. Back to fun stuff, though. We were talking about fun stuff. So science. Let's talk more about science. So anyway, they were talking. So the quantum. You were talking about this. Could it transfer faster than the speed of light? So here's the thing.
Right.
Now there's a really cool discussion about what you're talking about, which is with that wormhole. Technically, the reason why that is possible, it would be able to travel technically faster than the speed of light, but it would travel a distance which is not fast. Do you see what I'm saying? The distance.
Right. So the patch of space.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be instantaneous, which technically, weirdly enough, instantaneous is not faster than the speed of light. Instantaneous is instantaneous. It's a different thing. That's why at the center of a black hole, you flip time and you actually flip time and space. They flip.
Yeah.
So you're going towards the end of time, not the end of a distance, if you're going towards a black hole. So there's like some weird mathematical theorems there. But
the equation still holds. It's like it's the speed of light.
With a wormhole is keeping it active for longer than a mic, because they're like, they could quantumly pop in the same way as a quantum material does, and we wouldn't know it. Keeping it open would require, what did they say, 11 Jupiters worth of matter every like second or whatever to keep a wormhole open.
How do these entangled particles conserve the entanglement if the wormhole would need to stay open?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's right now, they're like, theoretically, it could happen, but there's no power. We don't have, isn't anything other than,
because you see what I mean, right? It would be hard for these to.
Yeah. Well, the center of a black hole is now something that's really cool, where they're starting to talk about originally it was singularity. Yeah. Everybody was like, okay, that's the singularity. But now there's a discussion about a pressure. So when any atoms get towards the center of a black hole, they split and you create another atom. So you're pulling data out of the black hole. That's how black holes supposedly, other than Hawking radiation, don't lose information. But now there's a discussion, is it possible that at the center of a black hole, it's a fuzzy push out? So what we see as like a singularity is more of a sphere. And in that sphere, you have an internal pressure pushing out. As every particle comes in and is pulled apart, there would be almost another layer past the event horizon that is pushing out and in at the exact same. So it wouldn't be a singularity in the way we think. And Star Talk talked about that a little bit, as well as Brian Green on another podcast, was just like, it's not really even feasible for us to worry or be like, this is a definitive. It was just like, when you start seeing these pulling and pushing right at the cusp, you start going, oh, does something get to the center of a black hole? Well, technically, it would take till the end of time to do so. So maybe instead it's like fuzzy material that's might be shifting slowly, but instead of like this singularity, think of it more as a globe where the inward pressure and the outward pressure are hitting like another ball inside the other ball that we see with a black hole. So interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We'll never know. But I also saw that they imaged 2 giant black holes that are near each other, and they're saying might collide. When they say might collide, they're not talking in our lifetimes, but still very cool. Very cool to see.
Okay.
And then, did you see that like 2 weeks ago they think they found footage of 2 planets hitting? 2 planets.
Yes.
That was crazy. They were like,
that's crazy.
They looked at something and were like, wait a minute, this is not 2 stars. This looks like 2 planets hit. And I'm like, dude, that is so crazy that we have enough eyes out there. And of course,
that's how they think our moon was created, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it like the product of a collision? And then the idea is that you have an irregular looking piece, but over time, because of like gravitation and stuff,
right,
it turns round. It always turns round, right? If it's big enough.
Yeah, and I mean, technically, you're also looking at what every exosystem we've seen now just doesn't have gas planets where ours are. They just don't. They all have gas planets inward. They don't have them outward. So the idea is that something came in, billiard ball the fuck out of our solar system, left 1 or 2 rocky with the 1 or 2 gassy on the outside versus the gassy on the inside, rocky on the outside.
Ah.
And they think that might be why life is very difficult, is because you would need this pinball effect, and then you would need a Jupiter, because Jupiter is just like the great Hoover in the sky. I mean, it sucks up Shoemaker-Levy, sucks up so many asteroids, it sucks up everything, which keeps the inner rocky ones safe, which lets them cool. And then one thing Neil did mention, now they're relooking at the history of life. And originally it was like the starting of Earth and then first bacteria, which is a long time but a short time in the universe. But now the new sort of cutoff is when it was possible for bacteria. So it's not just when it was active, but they're moving forward towards us more, the time frame for when it was possible for bacteria. And bacteria and life started fast. So it was like, in cosmic times, the moment it was possible, boom, life.
Yeah.
Which that's interesting in and of itself. That, like, for whatever reason, amino acids, which now we see are on asteroids everywhere, like the moment they get together, they seem to, like, there's something about their structure that seems to put them together into, more and more complex, which I thought was awesome. It was a very cool conversation. It's cool to see scientists just being like, yeah, you know what? We're rethinking some things. This actually moves forward a couple billion years. Just a couple billion.
Yeah.
No big deal. Just a couple bill.
If you were out there in outer space, in your spaceship, and you're inevitably being dragged by a black hole, right? So that's the picture. You just slowly, you can't escape this thing. And you can't really see it because it's just black, right? But there's like a sphere there. Would you be more scared if it was like a small black hole the size of your ship, or a supermassive giant black hole?
Small. Yeah, small. If a supermassive black hole, the time to drop in and the spaghettification supposedly is not like as,
it's not as
prominent.
Yeah.
I don't want to get shredded into pieces. It'll happen no matter what, because every atom gets pulled at a different speed. But I mean, I think at that point you'd just be like, dude, you're gonna be there for infinitesimal amount of time. Well, I guess to you, yeah, dude.
I think the anticipation is the worst part, because you're just waiting to get spaghettified, and you're maybe seeing,
dude,
seeing this thing.
Black holes to me are amazing, but they make perfect sense. To me, something about a black hole makes perfect sense. Like, oh yeah, right. So if light's affected by gravity, we can see that easily with galactic lensing. It's like, okay, makes perfect sense that something will get to the point to where light doesn't lens anymore. It loops back, and now it just can't escape. Boom, got a black hole. I mean, now I say it makes total sense, but it's like, obviously mathematicians and stuff like that, it took them a while, but it's like, theoretically, that makes perfect sense to me. Do you know what scares the shit out of me, dude? Like a fucking neutron star or some shit spinning at 1,000 fucking rotations. I can't even think of what the Earth would look like So like when you think of something spinning once a day, you've got this spin, right? Something huge spinning that fast I wouldn't even want to look at it, because galactically it doesn't make sense in my brain that something that big could just fucking go faster than my hand can go. That is creepy to me. Something about those have always creeped me. Quasars, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't know.
They
man.
are ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. Yeah. And I always am waiting for that time when they're like, well, we were looking into it and we figured out it's something else, because I still right now even have a hard time imagining it, even though they're like,
it's
no,
like pure sci-fi when you hear about it.
It is pure sci-fi. It is. I'm not saying this could happen, but imagine being on a planet's surface and your star, or going and seeing something that it probably wouldn't even register as a spin more than a blur, but like it wouldn't even make any sense. It wouldn't even make sense galactically that something is able to move that fast. I mean, dude, I thought didn't they say one neutron star was spinning at like 25% the speed of light? And you're just like, okay, at that point, fuck it. Fuck that entire area. I don't want to be there. Like, that's the other thing.
That entire system.
If you were a galactic, like solar adventure and you had, let's say you had the Normandy and you got from Mass Effect and you got to fly anywhere, I don't even know where I would fly. I would probably try to I would search our planets, that would be fun. Fly around Enceladus or something, drop a couple fucking probes. But I was trying to think, would I just immediately go to Tau Ceti, or would I immediately go to, something that we sort of hear about in public awareness, or would I go to something like the Crab Nebula? I don't even know. I don't even know. And then as you see something like that growing, like let's say you stop occasionally to see it as it is, it'd be pretty scary. It'd be pretty scary.
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
in a cool way. I would feel safe in a Normandy. It sounds so dumb, but like whenever I think about space travel, I think about like Babylon 5 or Normandy or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, dude, we're good. We're good. I mean,
you got the bar lounge.
You got the bar lounge, man. Just sit back, have a drink, talk to Cthulhu. That's probably the only thing living out here in the middle of fucking nowhere. I don't even know if I would go look for planets.
No, man. I mean, even approaching a gas giant like Jupiter or something, I would just shit my pants.
Yeah.
Like your brain can't process that. It's incredible.
I would want to see the hexagon storm. I would want to see that.
Sure.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
The red eye storm on Jupiter. I would want to see that. But like in our solar system, I'd like to see Pluto, because Pluto to me is a big deal. I know it's not a planet now.
Gets a lot of shit.
Gets a lot of shit. Yeah. Gets shit kicked out of it like a bad dog. But it's like, I like Pluto. I would like to see it and go like, this is, because Pluto has, weirdly enough, now they don't even know how, but it's got an atmosphere. They definitely sense that there's some
fuck?
Yeah, so whether it be ice or whatever, I would like to see it. I would just be like, dude, that's Pluto. It's not a planet now. How big, what's it look like? What's it? Because I used to, when I was a kid, dream about like, what would it be like being on Pluto and look at the sun, be so small as a star versus what we see.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, dude, it would. I don't even know what I would go visit. Like, I don't even know. And then every time you go somewhere, you'd come home and everybody would be dead.
Everywhere sucks, by the way.
Everywhere sucks.
Venus sucks, like Jupiter sucks, Mars sucks.
The Saturn hexagon would probably break my mind. Yeah, the Saturn hexagon, I truly didn't believe for a couple days. When they were talking about the hexagon storm on Saturn, I was like, yeah, no, I don't. That's most likely some deep fucking, fake or something like that. I don't quite understand. And then somebody from thermodynamics and fluid dynamics was explaining how it's possible. And I'm like, yeah, still don't like it. Nope. Don't want no hexagons in my, even though we get hexagons in some rock formations that are natural, not in a storm. Sorry. Nah. That's an alien spaceship waiting to fucking take us on.
Yeah. I was listening to the audiobook of Hail Mary. Mm-hmm. Have you read that one or listened to it?
A little bit, not a bunch. Got about 40 pages in.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I'm only like halfway in as well, but been liking it. I haven't seen the movie yet.
Me neither.
No. I heard it's great, by the way. And, Brian Gosling apparently did really well there. But, yeah. I do want to watch it, but I want to read the book first because I do like it. The Martian was super good too.
Yeah.
And they do a good job. making science be kind of exciting, you know?
I think with this one, maybe my issue is that it jumps to Alien, so all science is out the window, or could be, where I thought maybe he was going to do more about, like, you know, disasters that could happen on a space station, disaster that could happen on another planet, disaster.
Yeah.
And, or even going to another planet in a colony ship he could have handled. So going directly to aliens, and by the way, the premise is just stupid.
It's a little bit stupid, sure.
The premise in The Martian is...
It's told well, but when you boil it down, like...
I mean, like, it's close to sunshine, you know, like the sun is
like,
dying,
okay, the sun is dimming a bit. There's this, like, alien particle thingy that we can also use as fuel.
So it destroys... Now, by the way, I'm not dissing on him. He can do whatever he wants. This is amazing.
No.
I'm just saying I was expecting, because he is so widely trumpeted as, like,
well, also,
he made sure
Martian is a very grounded story. I mean, of course, it's like Mars and it's all out the window still, but it's very much based on what we know kind of thing. So I agree with you. Yeah, it's much more out the window sci-fi.
Yeah, it's pie in the sky really fast.
It is. But it isn't very engaging how the writing is done, and like they weave in some of the math or like some of the science and stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun to like investigate some of that stuff, jump back into it, jumping into some Kyle Hill stuff. Kyle's definitely got some issues with some other science influencers, though. Man, he definitely he drops the hammer a couple times. I'm not, and I don't know.
He's not scared of putting anyone on the, you know.
I have no clue what the history of any of this is, or even if it's real. It could just be completely teasing or whatever. But last couple, I've been like, cocked my head a little bit like a dog hearing a whistle.
Yeah, I think he had one. He was dissing Neil for for how he talked about some stuff.
Which is interesting because I'll have to watch it again. I didn't find what Neil said to be that crazy. Neil was talking to a school.
I don't think so.
No. Yeah. So I thought it was a little bit odd that was.
Yeah.
But regardless, always fun videos, and
it was his interpretation as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm really happy that we have science, like any astrophysics stuff is great, but just science as a whole. There's a couple that do chemistry now, which are really fun.
Sure.
I love Sarah. She does assembly theory. So you have all these sort of different like experts that you can go listen to. And then I've been doing a shit ton of so originally I was doing a shit ton. I still listen to Simon Whistler all the time, but then you have the Mystery Files, which is from Sean and what's his name, who did Watcher, or they're doing Watcher now, but they did BuzzFeed Mysteries, and they do their mystery shows, and they're just two nerds having a great time. And my wife and I were watching one last night, and they go between talking about Bigfoot to teasing each other's penis size, and then they're talking about Bigfoot again. And I'm like, that's what, I'm not saying serious isn't, it's absolutely needed, but we also need that. And I don't know what that is, but you need it to where a person doesn't say, I need to be Jake Paul drama. I need to be this piece of shit over here. I need to be this. Instead, they can look and go, this is two guys who they're enjoying themselves well enough that if the video doesn't do well, I don't know, they would know, but they're just having a good time.
Yeah. Shooting the shit.
I think having a good time is falling, or has fallen, to the wayside, to the pretend to have a good time. Look, we're going to do a podcast. It's a bunch of us, we're friends. You're getting together. You're doing this thing. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really the same thing as like these. You look at those guys and you're like, they are truly that. You see, you can smell a fake, I guess. And you see those guys and you're like, that's not a fake. Those are two dudes who are just having a fucking blast. I mean, one of them blindfolds the other one and makes them shoot at targets because some people missed UFOs in the Battle of Los Angeles. They were like, okay, now I'm going to try to see how you would do if the lights were off. And he gave him a Nerf gun. And you're just like, dude, it sounds so tangential, but it makes sense in what they were talking about, which is like if the lights turn off in a city and you're trying to shoot something that might be floating above you, what would you hit? And they were just laughing and having a good time. And I was like, man, that's the kind of like, it's so much better than some chick, dancing to the same fucking beatnik song on YouTube Shorts or TikTok, which is just mind-worm, terrible shit. Yeah, it's terrible. The Space Talk reminds me about Leviathan Wakes. Yeah, Leviathan Wakes is pretty good. I like the show better, though.
I haven't read the books at all because I had already seen the show.
I found a lot of shows I like better than, and not that better than the books, but that I like the visual structure of a book, of a
Me
show.
too.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Even if the character doesn't look like what I think they may look like or whatever, it's like there's something about being able to see the visual structure and sort of lending it reality, even if it's a different interpretation. I like and find myself enjoying more.
I heard some people criticize that, like you have no imagination, because if you did, the book would be much better because it can elicit your imagination and you can go much wilder than a show can go. But I think on the flip side of that is that an image is actually worth more than 1,000 words sometimes.
Right.
And having, something crafted into imagery can have a much bigger impact. Like, when we saw the dragons in Game of Thrones, that was a much bigger impact than reading about it in the book.
Yeah.
Even though some of the stories were more impactful reading in the book. So there is an element and with sci-fi, man, it's a lot of it is spectacle and awe. It's hard to sometimes project that through words. Like we were saying, as you approach a gas giant, like it is actually much better to portray that with images.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah. I can just personally say nobody in my life has ever been like, Carrick, you have no imagination. So I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's true.
As a DM for 40 years or something. Yeah, I would say that I get where somebody's coming from. I think most of the time a book, though, if it's 400 pages, whatever, unless it's a book about a guy in a toll booth stuck in there for 4 hours and it's condensed, if it's told over a period of time, a show will show you more than that book will ever have the ability to describe in those contained words. And we have a tendency to read and imagine what we've seen before to fill in the blanks anyway. So if somebody says a dragon, I'm going to fill in my own idea of a dragon. Does that make sense? Like I'm going to, from what I have in the past. Even if they explain a different style, I'll build on what I have. I'll sculpt on top of what I have as an idea for a dragon to make their new type of dragon. So seeing it, I think lends something. It lends an awesome. Yeah, I'm not saying every book needs to be whatever. I'm just saying for most part, for me, there's definitely been books that were way better than the show or whatever. But what I've found is that they're almost 100% of the time a compliment to one another, if
definitely
not 50% of the time. I find myself
or not detracting
the show. Yeah.
Because I hear that sometimes. Don't do the show because it's going to detract from the book. I just don't see how that is the case. Because a lot of people will only experience the show.
Yeah.
And that's still a good way to get them to experience the story. And then maybe some people will go on to read the books after. It's always, it is always a compliment. It doesn't take away from your experience having read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think it's a bit just elitist, It's like, oh, I'm better than the other people because I read the book.
I mean, are they better than a blind person? Because a blind person will never be able to watch the show.
True.
But a blind person can read.
How they shit on people who do Audible or like audiobooks instead of reading as well. And I mean, I get it. It's a different activity, kind of, but you're still intaking the material, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's audio dramas which don't repeat the words; they do the acting,
totally different.
Which is totally
by the way,
different.
The one you recommended was very good. The
Rami Malek. Is it the Rami Malek one?
Yes. What was it called? Something Within. I'll have to pull it up. It was very good.
Okay, wait a minute. There's Rami Malek, which was Blackout, which was about the end of the
Oh no! The other one with the lady.
Oh shit! Are you talking about the one with Jessica Chastain?
Space Within.
Yeah,
Jessica.
Within. Yeah, so now you've got
that's great.
Now you've got, I think it's called Blackout with Rami Malek from Mr. Robot.
Okay.
That one is awesome. That's about a dad who works at a radio station when maybe nuclear war breaks out. You're not quite sure. And then Night Vale, City of Night Vale, but that's like 19 seasons. But that thing is awesome. It's basically like Fringe, but it's an audio series. Yeah, those are so good, man. Yeah, dude, Within was really good. I thought Jessica Chastain did a good job. Also, The Grove with Eric Bana was amazing. The Grove is crazy. Dude, I cannot believe I got my wife to listen to that, because I was just like, I was like, I'm just gonna make her. I'm just gonna play it. She's like, can we watch a show? I'll finish this audiobook. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait a minute, did that girl say this? And I was like, well, let me rewind a little bit. And by the time we were done, she was like, oh my God, it was so fucking good. So good. I would love for you to go on Star Talk or have them join you here. Dude, those guys are, all my bitching aside, Star Talk, like, they out-talk me. They know their shit. I was just...
They're awesome.
Yeah. And my only issue with Neil was just that at times he'll curb a question off when you're like, it doesn't make as much sense as, as I think you think it. Like the idea of not terraforming Mars, because why don't we reverse everything on Earth? And I'm like,
he has this embellishment layer on everything.
Bep says, I actually found watching a few seasons of Game of Thrones good preparation for reading the books, because they're already hard to read. So, dude, I cannot suggest that more. The number of times where I've had somebody who's read the book, watched the show and then read the book, and they get an idea of a character and what their look is, or they maybe the tone of their voice, and they can transfer directly into the book, and they find the book so much easier to read because they have a couple ideas. Phenomenal number of times where, like, be like, oh, now I see. Now it sort of works for me. This book is much easier to read now. Book reading is difficult for a lot of people. I get it. I mean, it's not. I read when I was super young,
those
but
books
I get it.
Are tough because there are a lot of names to track, a lot of people. And if you've already seen them, it's a lot easier for you to map them mentally. So,
do you want to know a hard-to-read book? Yeah. Exodus, based on the upcoming video game. The Exodus book. Holy shit. By Peter Hamilton. Holy shit. Dude, it's got a glossary. It's got a glossary of names. And the voice, the guy who did the audiobook, I couldn't handle the audiobook narrator, man. He's like, Shari Ungasa is the daughter of Ungda Bangne. Bungda Nene is the son of Usha, and just kept going and kept going. And I was like, what the fuck this? And I just turned it off. I was like, there is no way that's going to... I don't even know why they did it. It was way worse that they did it instead of just putting an inflection a bit on a name and going. Then I read the book, and I was like, oh, man, it's that Galaxy Empire kind of thing, where I've always felt that those Galaxy Empire books, if they start that way, they almost never do a good job getting it tighter to where you understand who's even doing what. Even Warhammer has had that issue many times. There's even times when I was reading the Eisenhorn trilogy where it's like, he got really lucky that he chose to cut it down right when he did, because it was getting a little wild, where it was like, okay, who's doing what? And they, when they got weird names with a lot of weird consonants, hard to track. Yeah. World of Time, it's like, here we go. There's 650 or Wheel of Time. Sorry. There's 650 names in it, best be prepared. There's 27 books. And you're like, oh,
good
God.
Luck.
Here we go. Yeah. There's Bindar Mar Kargoob. And there's Kargoob Damar, who's his mortal enemy. And you're like, oh, my God, why? Wait, what? Heat 2 was amazing. And having watched Heat before reading it, I could see the movie in my head. Heat 2 was amazing? You watched Heat 2? What? Josh Nord, you're going to have to explain that. Heat 2 was amazing. And having watched Heat before reading it, I could see the movie in my head. Was it called Heat 2? Did you mean to say Heat also? But you put the number 2. Interesting. What else? What else we got before we wrap it up? Anything cool?
I think that's about it.
What do we got? We got Lego. We got 00. 00 negative coming out soon. Got Lego coming out soon. It's going to be a busy couple weeks. Get some more previews. He says no heat to the book. I don't even know what that is. Anyway.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But we got it's going to be a pretty busy couple weeks, man. And then,
what a year, man. So far.
Dude, it's been pretty goddamn nice. I've missed out on at least 3 somewhat, like, I don't know if you want to call them big games, whatever, but 3, pseudo big games that I've missed just for this month. I think June is a little lean. June, it's going to be pretty nice because I think when I was looking in June, there was like 2 that were, big. Doesn't mean there won't be big games. I'm saying 2 that are
wait until we see something,
Yeah, there'll be somebody who will announce
Sinking City 2.
Yep. Boom. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, because they just said summer.
They said summer, but it's probably going to be tail end, I would imagine.
The dog days of summer. Anyway, that'll be it for us. I want to thank everybody for sitting down and hanging out. If you get a chance, check out the Patreon. It would help us out if you join. If you don't want to, I understand. I hope you guys have a good weekend and enjoy the rest of your week, which should only be about 3 hours if you're Pacific Northwest time. If you're East Coast, you're probably done. Peace out, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, God. Now I'm still here. Hang on. I'm trying to close this because my fucking Google or Chrome does not like me ending that stream.